Trust the open and what's inside. When the moon is high, it's time to fly. Open your mind, let it all unwind. Let's get disengaged. Time to engage. Turn another page. Free from your cage. Get disenraged. When you feel like you've had enough and the week was busy and tough, you need a break, you need some fun. You need to take time from the run. We'll blow your mind. We're just in time. Seek and ye shall find. Time to unwind. Let's get disenraged. Time to engage. Turn another page. Free from your cage. Get disenraged. Aliens, ghosts, spirits in the shadows, spirituality, ultra reality, the Bible, the pagans, all the conspiracies, tarot, astrology, and alternate history. Open your heart to other possibilities and get disenraged. Time to engage. Turn another page. Free from your cage. Get disenraged. 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 Disenraged.
Hey, Jennifer, we're back.
Hello, Carlin. I
I
missed you.
I haven't seen you since election night when I got way too fucking drunk and yelled at you at some point.
I took it like a champ, and I'm pretty sure I helped. I don't know. I think I took it pretty well. I handled it well. I was pretty drunk too. And then, like, when we
It was
were
a
done,
it was a drinking kind of night. Can we just admit that? It was a drinking kind of night.
and you know, those are the best to like just do a little shedding of the extra, pent up emotions.
Yeah.
All are forgiven. Me too, because I'm sure I said a fucking couple things.
Yeah, you said some stuff too. It's okay. It's okay. We're friends here. We can say stuff and yell at each other and be fine the next day. It'll be fine. We don't hold it against each other or nothing.
Right?
We're not like other assholes on the internet that when someone says something they don't like, you then start stalking them and harassing them every day of their lives for 4 fucking years.
Get over it.
Get over it. Move on. Life goes on. Not everyone has to be best friends. But how have you been since the election, Jennifer?
Good, and I'm doing better. Doing a little bit. We had some bad news, and I'm not going to go into it, but it's things are doing well. We're healing. We're stabilizing. We're looking forward to a good Thanksgiving. And I wanted to show you. I finished my hat.
Oh, look at that. Oh, that's a good hat. That's a definitely. See, I love fucking, and I don't mean any offense by what I'm about to say, but it might sound offensive. Like, I love knitted and crochet hats that just look gaudy as fuck. I love it. It's like the whole point. Like, I have this really ugly hat that I made out of gold yarn and all like the scrap fabric, and I've worn it on stream a couple times. People always make fun of me for like, look at that ugly ass hat. I'm like, that's the fucking point.
This is one of my favorite variegated threads. I thought it was really pretty. I bought this yarn. Yeah, well, that's the whole thing. Is the poof? It's a poof hat.
Yeah.
I have been working on this hat for 3 fucking years.
You can put your hair up in that hat. You can wear your hair down. You can wear it to the side. You can wear it back. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That hat is like got possibilities.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Beret.
Anyway,
exactly.
Yeah. So I'm really, really proud. I did this, like, mostly finished it watching your content or contributing to your content, and I'm just super proud. I had to share that. It's my win. I'm like, yay, I did a hat.
Oh yeah. That's cool. I wanted to show you, Jennifer. I got some new crystals when I went on my road trip because
Oh,
we went to Nevada City, California, which is like, actually, I think you'd really like it because you're like a musician and you're really into all that stuff. It's like a music town. It's got like all sorts of cool bars and like live music and stuff. But we were leaving the next day, and Siggy, who I was with, said we've got to go to this crystal store, and I thought he meant like a proper store in like a building, because it's kind of like there are all these like bougie stores in the town. I was like, okay, well, let's go to the crystal store, and what it was this little kind of like shack almost that was off to the side somewhere, that like it wasn't even technically open, but the woman happened to be in it. And you go in the shack and the whole room, the whole floor is like rocks, and there's just little bowls of crystals everywhere and waterfalls, and it's just like this whole, and like all like the wall, just like all these just bowls of, it was just like this total like hippie sort of thing where if you weren't specifically looking for it, you wouldn't even know it was there. And so I got 2 crystals. I got a druzy amethyst, which I'd never even
Ooh,
seen before, but for
that's
some reason that
beautiful.
spoke to me. And
Sparkly.
then this is a ruby,
Oh yeah,
which I'd
an
never seen
impure
one this
ruby.
big. Yeah, this is a ruby. And so those were the 2 that I got. And she said when we were leaving, she's like, the people that are supposed to find us. And I was like, okay.
That's legit.
Mm-hmm.
That's legit
That's
right there.
legit crystal store. Not like the expensive crystal store where they've got everything behind a glass partition and everything. No, that's not a good
Stands
no, with signs that say no touching. That's not a good crystal store. But don't buy crystals at those places.
no, those are beautiful. So you've got something for your third eye and something for your root chakra.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yep.
So.
Love it.
That was basically the most woo woo thing I did on that entire road trip, if I'm honest about it. But but it was fun. It was a fun time.
There's always time for woo.
That's what I'm saying, and I was like appreciative. Like it's funny too because like so he's a Catholic and he's always telling me every time I try to bring up this woo woo stuff, he's like, Carlin, I'm a Catholic, I don't believe in that. But then he was the one that showed me the crystal store, and I was like, all right, well, you're a Pisces, you're still a Pisces moon, whether you like it or not.
They know what this is. Catholics got a lot of their stuff from pagan ritual. I mean, everybody has cross-pollinated over the millennia.
Yeah.
Nobody can claim they have the original anything except for the Anunnaki, which we're going to learn about tonight.
Yes, I'm very excited about learning about the Anunnaki. I used to threaten when I first got into my channel and I started doing these shows. I was like, we're going to have Anunnaki week and I'm going to talk about and then I never did it, and then I stopped. I basically stopped. Like, I used to watch stuff about the Anunnaki on like Gaia or whatever. I don't know if you've ever watched Gaia.
I had Gaia. Yeah, I had a subscription for a couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah. They actually have like some good stuff. Lots of cheesy stuff too. Like, you have to really kind of sort through it. Like, lots of like crazy conspiracy theory stuff, but like there are some really good shows on Gaia, and I got really into one show with this guy, and I forget the name of the show, but it was like he was actually like going to all like the geographic locations, and he was talking about all like the intricacies of it. And so here is my recollection of the Anunnaki. So I was because I don't remember much, but here's what I remember. The Anunnaki were an alien civilization that came to Earth in ancient Sumeria, and there was Enki and there was Enlil, and they were like brothers or cousins or something. And they basically so how it is like they basically created humans in order to mine gold for them. And like they spliced genes together to create human beings with like the specific we were basically like slaves, right? Like we were mining gold for them. And then one of them, and I forget which one it was, I think it might have been Enki, kind of started to like humans and was like, maybe we should, not treat humans like this, or maybe we should, let humans be or whatever. And then but Enlil was like, no, bro, no, these are our gold mining slaves. And then there was like and again, I might be making this up, but I feel like there was some sort of dispute over that, about like what to do with the humans that we've created. But this is like the Anunnaki are like it's like the story of the origin of man.
Yes. Well, yeah, it's to be more precise, the story of the origin of modern man. So mankind, or I don't know, humanids were around when the Anunnaki showed up. But we were like the Denisovians, like that kind of thing. So and there was, gosh, how many different species of man? I mean, all the different, you've seen the charts of from ape to upright. So they came in and they saw these hairy humanoids and went, we could work with this. And but what that's and that comes into the genetic working, and it was Enki's kind of project to create the slaves, because the Anunnaki were about to rebel because they didn't like the hard labor. They were like over it. And so he had to come up with something to get gold, because the gold could heal their atmosphere. And what we're going to see, what we're going to see mostly tonight, is we're going to go in a deep dive into the history, the way back of the Anunnaki, way before they even thought about making mankind. And we might, if we're lucky, get to the point where they engineer man by the end of our show tonight. And then we'll pick it up next time with the evolution of how they created the Aiden and the Adamu. And Adamu is the first man, that's Adam. And then they created Eve, of course. And it was all sort of a genetic engineering, not just scientific, but also a breeding program to get the DNA mix just right, so that they could be smart but not too smart, and strong, but not too strong. And I heard an alternate theory ages ago about the first ones that were created were too rebellious, and they actually rebelled, took off, and created Lemuria. They became the children of Mu. And the ones so round two, so that's kind of what I think of when I think of what's her name from I almost have it, Lilith, how she was rebellious and took off, like the first wife of Adam kind of a thing. And then after that, they had them more subdued and more into the slave mind of being easily controlled. And so they then became the slaves.
It would certainly explain why human beings are so slave-like and easy to control today. I was out today among normie people because I was doing my Thanksgiving shopping, and I was just like, I was looking around. I'm like, none of these people know what's going on. Like, it's like, but for real though, like we've been genetically engineered to like be slaves.
Absolutely. And well, first we come from a naturally violent species, and then we were engineered too smart. So there's that group that's still out there, that's still interbreeding with the slave race, which is the other. So we don't know who has how much. I think independent thinkers might have a little too much Mu in them, or have a nice amount of Lumeria, if you will, in them. And then there's the slave race, and they became the ones who started putting a civilization together. Now, Enlil wanted to get rid of mankind because they were done with what they needed, and they're like, these should not be allowed to live. And Enki was like, oh no, bro, we need to take care of them. And so Enlil, they say in one of two things is possible, and this is something we'll get into maybe next time. Either Enlil is responsible for the Great Flood event at the end of the second Younger Dryas, or it was a natural event that was coming, and he left and said, let's let him take their chances. And Enki stayed and became the god that brought writing and math and farming and agriculture and all of that to the primitive tribes right at that time. And that's where modern archaeology thinks we actually started, is there.
Hang on. Shut the fuck up.
No,
not you. Nicole. Nicole, we don't behave like this here. This is our time to talk about different things that aren't related to politics. If you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here, but you're not going to behave like this in my chat while you're here. So what Tronwick says, Emerald Tablet, Billy Carson stuff. Yes, yeah. Billy Carson is one of like the big people that talks about this. And I always find it so funny because he's black and you just don't expect, like, I don't mean to be racist or anything, but like you don't see a lot of like black men into this sort of thing. And so I just always think it's funny when Billy Carson's, and he knows everything. Like this has been his thing for years and years. And like he's written multiple books on it. He can do it backwards and forwards. And it's just like, okay, bro, like that could not have been an easy path to walk is all I'm saying.
Oh, for sure. Well, let me address our friend Nicole. First of all, I don't believe this as if this is the actual history. I'm not saying, and just for everybody else to know too, I don't know what happened. Nobody freaking does.
No one knows.
No, I don't think the Bible is right. I'm not sure the Emerald Tablets are right. I don't know exactly what the truth is. Here is somebody who says this is an interpretation of some historical stuff, archaeology, some channelings. The one we're going to see tonight was put together through the Emerald Tablets, some cuneiform tablets, people who have channeled, so-called, these guys. And so, I mean, it's all different kind of stuff. It's just another way of looking at history. It doesn't mean that this is it and I'm preaching it as gospel. I'm not. This is just another interesting way of looking at things.
But even if you did believe this, and I want to say, like, I don't know that I'm more on board with this than I might not be on board with it, just because for me it kind of like makes sense with a lot of things about human beings function. Also, like our kind of like obsession with gold. Like, why the fuck are we so obsessed with gold? Gold is like plentiful on this planet. It's not like it's scarce or anything. And so I believe it probably like more than I don't believe it. But at the same time, even if Jennifer or I was like 100% yes, this is exactly what happened, and I know this, how is that any different than a Christian saying the Bible is the literal truth? It's like, we're allowed to believe exactly what we want to believe. If you don't like it, you don't have to be here, but we're not going to insult people, and we're not going to insult other people's beliefs. If we're not insulting fucking Christians, and Jennifer grew up in a Christian cult, then you guys can rein your shit in and let us talk about spirituality.
Exactly. It's just I tend to agree with you. I've always believed in co-creation, where it was divine and also other spirits creating everything from the first little amoeba all the way up. And then aliens coming in, why not? I mean, you don't limit God and say he only created one thing ever. I mean, there's plenty of spirits. Even the Anunnaki believe in God.
Yeah, God,
as we'll learn,
the one true energy.
Yep, they sure do. So why not? I say learn everything you can learn.
Why not? Why not? And at least, and if you don't believe any of this stuff, at least you got a different perspective for the night, and maybe you explored a topic you've never heard anyone talk about before, and that's
have a
cool
good laugh and move on.
So here is the video we're gonna be watching, and Jennifer has picked out this video, so if it sucks, it's not my fault. And so this is Anunnaki the movie, and we're gonna do like a couple parts of this because this is a long video. Not this one, but there's another one after this. It's even longer.
Yeah, I think there's like 3 parts to this. I don't know how far off we want to go, but I thought this gave us, if we're gonna do Anunnaki, let's get into the Wayback Machine and talk about their origins too.
Well, I'm excited about it because I don't know anything about that. The only thing I knew is that Anunnaki came to Earth and like created man to mine gold and stuff like that. So I don't know any of that origin stuff. So I'm
gives you the why and also what happened at Mars. This gives you the history of the asteroid belt. I mean, there's all kinds of really cool shit in this. I absolutely love it. Mythology is one of my favorite things, so I love it.
Well, do you want to just jump right in? Now, we're skipping the first 10 minutes of the video because Jennifer has pre-watched this and assures us that the first 10 minutes is just fluff and not relevant to what we're actually talking about.
It's basically like if God called Moses and said, "You will write my words exactly as I have commanded you to write them, oh good and faithful servant." And I'm like, okay, let's cool the theatrics and just get into the fun. Okay,
we just want the content.
Yeah, exactly.
Bot wants to know, why do they want gold?
You are going to find that out, Bot. That's part of the mystery we're going to solve. You're going to learn what happens on Nibiru that they need gold so badly.
All right, let's get into it. We are watching The Anunnaki, Part 1.
These are the words of the Lord Enki, firstborn son of Anu, who reigns on Nibiru. Here is the account of the prior times and olden times. A history and overview of the Anunnaki Atlantean civilization and the chronicles to Earth that occurred. Long ago, before the prior times was the beginning. After the prior times were the olden times. In the olden times, the gods came to Earth and engineered the Earthlings. In the prior times, none of the gods were on Earth, nor were the Earthlings yet engineered. In the prior times, the abode of the gods was on their own planet, Nibiru its name, a great wide orbiting planet, reddish in radiance, creating an extended orbit around the sun. There are times that Nibiru is involved in cold, and other times that the bright sun shines again. Nibiru is involved with a thick atmosphere. This atmosphere is constantly fueled by volcanic eruptions. In the cold period, the atmosphere keeps the heat, like a coat that covers the entire planet. In the warm period, the atmosphere protects Nibiru. In the middle periods, between heat and cold times, the rains gain strength, offering consistency to lakes and rivers. Nibiru is covered in lush vegetation that feeds and protects the atmosphere. From them, all kinds of life arouse in both the waters and land, due to the Pleiadians that seeded the planet millions years before for evolving life. After aeons of time, a
Okay,
forgotten
did you
royal
catch that?
hybrid race found refuge
About
on
the
empty
Pleiadians?
Nibiru after
Yeah.
being exiled.
Do you want to explain?
Yeah, the Pleiadians are from any research I have done are credited with being the most ancient intelligent race, and they're the ones who seeded other planets. So remember, like there's panspermia, I think is one of the theories, but also
Panspermia.
panspermia. Yes, it's where
That's
the
quite a
seed-
name.
It's actually scientific. I know it's quite a name, and it is as it sounds.
Panspermia.
Mini sperm.
Many
All
sperm.
the sperm.
It all
where
makes sense.
they sent the seeds of life throughout the galaxy wherever it fertilized
Literally.
planets, literally. Life would evolve. That's why life kind of resembles it's like itself here and also other planets. Like we will always have something in common with other life forms on other planets. They may be bipedal, you know, so or they may be kind of strange looking, but I mean they're still going to kind of have something familiar about them because we all come from the same source. That's one of the things. The other thing is that they physically started life, maybe co-creating with the divine or maybe on their own scientific experiments. That's a whole nother deep dive. But in this, at least, they're talking about how the Pleiadians were sort of the original seeders of some of the life that is found here on Nibiru.
All right. Fair enough.
From all other civilizations. This was due to the rejection of their mixed heritage of Draconian and Lyran ancestry. It was there our people gave ourselves the name Atlanteans. Over time, the Atlanteans of Nibiru multiplied and took place in the valleys, plains, and mountains. They set up homes, built cities, and civilizations began. It was then at this time period, millions of races left the Orion.
Go ahead.
The Atlanteans or Atlanteans or however they're going to say it, because I think it changes. This is all AI animation, by the way, so it looks a little funky. And sometimes you'll see things look, you know how AI doesn't quite have human forms, right? When you see some of them walking, it looks like they're walking forward and backwards at the same time. It's fascinating.
I like how in AI, just like separate note, like I like how in AI, like no one's ever in a hurry. Everyone's always just like taking their time. Yeah, it's like dreamlike.
So anyway, the Anunnaki are saying that their ancestors are Lyran and a reptilian. So that's what they're saying. The original Anunnaki are Lyran and reptilian, but because they were mixed blood, they were not accepted with the reptilian species or the Lyran species. So they came and established Nibiru, and this is all kind of it sounds kind of biblical, so that's why I'm trying to sort of parse it out for people who aren't maybe catching all the details here. They welcomed other races to Nibiru. It was like the America of the solar system or of the galaxy or whatever, the region or the quadrant or whatever.
Okay.
That's
probably where everything went awry. They embraced diversity.
Yeah. So they had a lot of, that's why you're seeing like the cat people and the some of the more lizardy looking and fish looking and whatever. But it's just showing that they invited anybody who was an outcast or wanted to hang with them. They could come and be on Nibiru. So
they were social justice warriors. They were communists that created their own queer commune, is what you're saying.
That is absolutely not what I'm saying. No,
that's presenting a whole different perspective of this.
Give us your cast off. You know, our parents don't like us because they think we're impure. So you guys can come on over and we'll all hang. It's fine.
John Morgan says it's actually canon that Scooby-Doo is a descendant of the Anunnaki, which is why he can talk.
Is that right? No fucking way.
Scooby-Doo is a descendant of the Anunnaki.
John,
that makes,
you leg puller.
That's makes complete sense to me.
Why not? Why not? I'm down for
it. People are saying yes, it's true.
No fucking way.
John and MacB both said yes, it's true. Scooby-Doo is a descendant of the Anunnaki.
I'm gonna have to look that up. I just don't know about you cats. I always thought he could talk because like Shaggy was so high, he thought he could understand him. I don't know.
That makes more sense to me if I'm honest about it.
Okay.
And Pleiadian star clusters due to the wars and came to Nibiru for refuge. Our society is one of many people of numerous civilizations, and our ancestors welcomed them. However, rivalries began to occur. Brother amassed against brother, clans gathered into tribes. Then two polar nations of Atlanteans of Nibiru were established. The nation of the north against the nation of the south took up arms and set up weapons of terror against each other. Death and destruction swept across the lands both north and south. Destruction overtook all of Nibiru. For a long time, desolation took place on Nibiru. In time, the Anunnaki Atlanteans' history and interstellar connections faded into myths. However, during the ensuing era of wars on Nibiru, they reclaimed much of their lost technological prowess and consciousness. Sacred remnants of their past, including ancient nuclear warheads and advanced lasers, were revered and meticulously studied, leading to renewed scientific advancements. By this time, of discovering their relics of the past and finished with the constant battling from both sides, the North and South nations decided to declare a truce, and soon cries of peace arose everywhere. Nations shall unite, and only one throne shall there be on Nibiru. Let there be one king to rule them all, they declared. The chosen king should be of native Atlantean blood to the north or the south. A consort would also be chosen, but from the opposite region. Thus, North and South would be united in the figures of a monarchal king and queen. Husband and wife were one flesh, and the child born of their union would be the successor. With a new royal dynasty would soon be formed. The one chosen to rule was a mighty warrior and commander from the north. By lots, true and fair, was he chosen. His decrees in unity were accepted. For his abode he built a great city called Agadi, meaning unity. He was given the title of An, which means celestial. Thus, order was re-established in the lands, laws, and regulations. For his spouse the south a maiden had chosen, for both love and warring she was noted. Anzu was her royal title, the leader who is An's spouse, the given name meant. She bore 3 sons and no daughters. The firstborn son was by her named Enki. Enki remained alone on the throne, even though the concubines who came to the palace did not bear him children. Thus, the dynasty that had just begun was interrupted as soon as he died. The middle son, though not the firstborn, was named the rightful heir. He received the title of Anib, which means the one in the middle, to justify his position among the brothers. Anib married Ninib, which means the lady of Ib. Together they had a son named Anshagal, the successor to the throne and the 4th of the kings to rule Nibiru. His wife was his half-sister Kishagal. Of his reign had been the greatest legacy. His intention and goals was to unify the people. And he did it when the northern feast and the southern feast that served everyone. It was in the reign of Anshagal and Kishagal that the law of husband and wife, and of sons and of daughters, was created. These customs of the first tribes of Nibiru were established to be followed. The law had been written. It stated that a woman should be chosen as an official wife, and this was the first wife. From the many wars, females greatly outnumbered the males. Decrees were made. One male was to have more than one female. By law, one wife as official spouse would be chosen. She would be known as the first wife. By law, the firstborn son would be his father's successor. Confusions, disputes, and wars did not take long to be created. If the firstborn son was not from the first wife's, but the second son was who would be the legitimate heir. In Anshagal's reign, concubines were once again brought into the royal palace. And so, the concubines had sons and daughters. Some time later, the legitimate wife Kishagal had a son. By law, the son of Anshagal and Kishagal was the rightful heir, though not the firstborn. Kishagal, his mother, Anshagal's true and lawful wife, shouted angrily, "If according to the laws my son of a firstborn wife is deprived of the succession, do not let the double seed be neglected. Although from different mothers, the king and I are descended from the same father, the king before him. I am the king's half-sister, and from me the king is also half-brother.
So hang on to
my
this.
son has the double seed of our father, Anib."
There you go. This is a lot. This is like someone begot something and someone begot something. That's kind of how I feel right now.
It's it's like that here in the beginning. What I think is so fascinating is how they determined lineage and how they looked upon marriage, and they married half sisters, not whole sisters. That was considered gross, but your half sister was fine.
That's totally cool.
It's totally fine. And they looked at it because since they both have the seed of the father in them, they then create a pure bloodline together.
Oh.
So this is also how the Egyptians did things. A lot of Romans did things this way. So it's very interesting how, if let's pretend this is our history or the ancient history before mankind was around, this is where they got the idea, and it just kind of perpetuated here through humanity. But I just find it really fascinating. And I know the names don't worry about paying attention to names and stuff. We're about to get to Anu, which is where our story really takes off. But I just found it interesting in some of the political stuff too, where it's like so many men had died in wars that they had to take extra wives because there were so many extra women. But the one thing though they don't talk about is if this, and it is patrilineal, yeah, because it is going from father to firstborn son and so forth. However, women still held property, office, could be warriors, generals, heads of industry. So it wasn't, they just, if you're going to count a bloodline, they went through the father, but everything else was equal between the both. So it wasn't misogynistic. We're just making sure that Anunnaki were very, very, what is
egalitarian.
Yes, egalitarian, yeah.
Bot wants to know, was it capitalist? Were they communist, Jennifer?
I don't know if it gets into that. It does, though, kind of look like, because it doesn't really get into anything but the royal houses, and so you can't really tell that way. But it does kind of look like
no.
If
they had royal houses, they weren't communists then, because communists hate monarchy.
That's true. They do have self-ownership. They had rights. They had personal rights, so they weren't communists.
They might even be fascists, if we're honest about it.
I don't know.
They had a ruling class.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know. I don't think he gets too much into the politics other than the bloodlines and how they
did come to Earth to create a race of slaves. I think it's like saying they might be fascists might not be too far off the mark.
Yeah. Most ruling classes kind of are. They're really full of themselves, Yeah.
As hierarchy.
Definitely.
Yeah.
As far as like just normal everyday Anunnaki types, it doesn't really go into that, and I have no idea. But the ruling class, yeah, I can go with that.
It all comes back to socialism all the time.
I looked up Scooby-Doo, by the way.
Yeah, was Scooby-Doo a descendant of the Anunnaki?
I found a no answer and a sort of answer. It says no, Scooby-Doo is not a descendant of the Anunnaki. Scooby-Doo is a fictional cartoon dog.
Well, I mean...
AI, y'all. Well, then the other one said if Scooby-Doo is a descendant of the Anunnaki because he's a talking dog, in that sense, Mystery Incorporated suggests that not only Scooby-Doo, but every other talking animal in Hanna-Barbera universe are descendants of the Anunnaki.
See, that makes more sense, more fair, and applicable to all. Any animal that can talk is a descendant of the Anunnaki. Decided.
Okay, fine, whatever. I don't care. Sure. Well, technically we are too, though. So,
fine. Well, I mean but that's the whole point. Is they created us as slaves to mine gold. So yes, we are a descendant of the Anunnaki. Yes.
Yep.
All right, continuing.
Let, in succession, the law of the seed over the law of marriage prevail. Let, in succession, the son of a half-sister, whenever he is born, rise above others in succession. And Anshargal the king decided as Kishargal his wife and half-sister had said. Their son, though not the firstborn, was proclaimed the next king. The law of seed had been adopted for succession, and thus the divergence between lawful wife and concubine had been decided. The new king was given the title of Anshar, the fifth on Nibiru's throne. Anshar took his half-sister named Kishar as his wife, and so, even if Anshar had children by the concubines, the rightful heir would be the son of the king and queen. During his reign, Nibiru's fields reduced their harvests, and much of the food source lost their abundance. From cycle to cycle, from Shah to Shah, the problems grew more and more. In time, sages and scholars had been called to investigate what was happening. Some said it had happened before, and on that time it was happening again. That was Nibiru's destiny, they said. Others concluded that a hole had appeared in the atmosphere, and that volcanoes no longer erupted as before, which made the air more tenuous, and Nibiru's protective shield considerably reduced its level of efficiency. Under these conditions, the sixth king had assumed the throne. Enshar was his name, son of Anshar and Kishar, and his name meant noble master of the Shah. Enshar studied rigorously and looked for an answer in other planets and atmospheres. He gave the planets different names, honoring their ancestors and kings before him. Enshar named the region near the sun the Hammered Bracelet and announced that the region was protected from intruders by various asteroids. Enshar continued studying, looking for a salvation for the people of Nibiru. But from Shah to Shah, which is 3,000 Earth years each, the hole grew more and more. The scholars on their councils discussed what to do, but there seemed to be no solution. Someone had pronounced the idea to try artificially stimulate volcanoes to produce new eruptions to resolve the hole in the atmosphere. Nevertheless, on Enshar's reign, the hole only grew. It felt like some kind of curse.
Okay,
The
right
rains
here.
did not occur,
Okay.
the winds blew stronger, and the
Here you go.
So what we've got here is, first of all, Nibiru it has a very wide orbit around the sun. So it's mostly kind of dark there. Think further away than Pluto. In fact, there is Planet X that finally came into our radar. Ooh, boy, 3-4 years ago. And they're saying it's possibly that's Nibiru, but it is not. It hasn't been fully accepted yet in science. So it's got a big, long orbit. Now, what it's saying is that one Shah is 1 year for Nibiru. It's 3,000 Earth years.
Yo!
Yeah.
That's a long ass time.
Yeah. And so these guys, they have a very long lifespan too. I've heard estimates of either 50,000 year lifespans or upwards of 400,000 year
Imagine
lifespans.
living 400,000 years?
Well, I mean, for them, it's like, Tuesday. It's not a big deal.
Well, I guess. Well, do you know why it's not a big deal, Jennifer?
Because it's all happening at the same time.
Because time doesn't exist and it's all happening at the same time.
Yeah, I gave the right answer, even if I don't exactly believe that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so so what happens is they have all these volcanoes. There's a lot of volcanic activity here on Nibiru. And when the planet is having its so this could be like, in Game, I don't know if you guys watched Game of Thrones, that particular fantasy world had summers and winters that would last for years and years. And so if someone was born in the summer, they'd never known a winter. They were considered kind of softer.
True.
Yeah. And the people who were born in the winter, they'd
That's
never
why they
known
kept
summer.
going, winter is coming.
Winter is coming. Or my sweet summer child. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's kind of Nibiru. It has a really long seasons. And what happens is the volcanoes that are very active keep the atmosphere whole and intact rather, and keep it warm because they're way the fuck out there. So what's happening now is the volcanic activity is diminishing and people are starting to freak out because crops are failing. It's getting too cold. And there's a hole that has appeared in the atmosphere, which is going to expose them to space, and that's bad. So remember when we had like the ozone hole?
Yes.
There was like all the rage. Do you know that's gone? I heard that got healed up. Like it's totally gone. Like we no longer have an ozone hole. Yeah. Somebody cross-check me. Tell me if that's true. I don't know. I heard that it hasn't. That's why you never hear about it anymore, because the Earth healed itself, and instead of going global warming catastrophe, the whole ozone layer, we're all going to die. They just look what we did, we solved it, or maybe the Earth just helped itself. They just like stopped talking about it
because they can't make money if they're not talking about it.
Oh,
or
exactly.
Or if it went away, rather, if it just healed itself.
Yeah.
Naruto says, hey everyone, here's a Bible fun fact in the Bible. According to Revelation 1388, 666 is said to be the number of men, not the devil. Is that right, Jennifer? Do you know that?
Yeah, well, I know 666 is his number. I want to say that was supposed to be the mark of the beast or the number of the beast, and the beast was actually supposed to come from man. So, but again, all different ways of interpreting things. That's why, it's kind of fun to see different perspectives. But yeah. Where was I? Oh yeah. So this is why they're going, we got to fix the atmosphere. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
We gotta fix the atmosphere. The planet is changing. Oh my God. So now the scientists are trying to figure out how to heal the atmosphere. And that's where we are now.
Cool. Okay.
Springs did not emerge. As his first wife, Enshar's half-sister and Queen Ninshar did not bear any children. Then by a concubine of Enshar, a son was born. The firstborn son he was. By Ninshar first wife and half-sister, a son was not brought forth. By the law of succession, the concubine's son the throne ascended. The seventh to reign he was. Du-Uru was his royal name. In the dwelling place fashioned was its meaning. In the house of concubines, not in the palace, was he indeed conceived. As his spouse a maiden from his youth beloved Duru, he chose as his selected first wife, and not a wife by seed. Dauru was her royal name. Confusion then took place. In the royal palace, children were not heirs and wives were not half-sisters. As if this fact were not enough, sons and daughters of the king were not even born. The royal confusion had spread far and wide, like the hole in Nibiru's atmosphere that grew more and more. Desperate Duru, the seventh seed of An, along with his wife Doru, decided to adopt a boy. They named him Lama and pronounced him the rightful heir, who was subsequently made king. Sages and scholars eventually came to a solution to the new king, Lama. Gold, they shouted to King Lama, the only element that is durable and non-corrosive. If ground to a fine powder, pulverized in the air, it could become suspended, and thus the gap could close, offering the necessary protection. Gold, the sages said, was abundant near the hammered bracelet of the Milky Way galaxy quadrant. And from this moment on, advanced and massive technological spaceships began to be built. Another group suggested the use of weapons of terror,
The
launching
hammered
missiles
bracelet.
at volcanoes to stimulate their
Go ahead.
The hammered bracelet is what they're calling the asteroid belt that we have. We call it Merc.
Oh.
Yeah, they're calling it the hammered bracelet. So that's kind of how they start coming towards Earth. They start thinking, oh, we know we got gold over there. But first they try all kinds of other stuff because, politicians don't ever want to do anything that actually works. So they start trying other shit first.
Mm-hmm.
But also the hammered bracelet is very unpredictable and batters and destroys ships. So nobody can get through it.
Makes sense.
Just go over it. I don't know. Gee.
atmosphere. But Lama, the king of Nibiru, did not take action. And then Nibiru counted one Shah. And then another Shah. Conflicts stretched across the kingdom. Food and water were scarce. At the royal court, sages came and went, but the king did not listen to advisors and sages, only to his wife, Lahama. The third and fourth Shah passed, and the count already reached 14,400 years, if we counted Earth's time. Let us supplicate for the creator of all. Let's plead with the creator of all instead of acting, advised the king's wife. But the people, the sages, and the advisors were desperate. Something needed to be done. We need a decision, a definition, said the crowd in protest. And it was a prince of ancient heritage who first touched weapons and begun a rebellion against Lama. He announced that a new time had arrived and urged others to follow him. The prince's name was Alalu and was the eldest of the 4 princes. Lama shall no longer be the king, said Alalu. From now on, I will be king. We shall attack Lama and make him leave the throne. The other princes followed, and a chase began inside the great palace. Finally, at the Tower of Nibiru, Alalu found Lama and faced him in a battle of which only one of the 2 would be alive. The warrior Alalu won the battle and killed Lama. Then he proclaimed himself the king, beyond any advisor or law. Alalu is now the new king. The priests and sages announced. Alalu was not wrong. Lama was at least an adopted son of one of the generations of An, and a new time had begun. Who was Alalu? Was he a legal heir? Was he firstborn? By what right did he usurp? Was he not a kingslayer? Before the 7 who judges, Alalu was summoned, his fate to be considered. Before the 7 who judge, Alalu spread his pleas. Though neither legal heir nor a firstborn, a son of royal seed indeed he still was. Of Anshargal, I am descended, before the judges he claimed. Via concubine, my ancestor was born to him. Alam was his name. By the count of Shahs, Alam was the firstborn. The throne to him was belonged. By the queen, his rights were put aside. A law of the seed she created, for her son the kingship was obtained. My forefather Alam of kingship was deprived. To her son instead, it was granted. By descent of Alam's generations, I was conceived. The seed of Anshagal is within me. The 7 who judged to Alalu's words gave heed. To the council of counselors they passed the matter, truth or falsehood to ascertain. The royal annals from the House of Records were brought forth. With much care, they were read. Anshagal was a firstborn, the throne he ascended. Of him I am descended. Alalu to the counselors he cried out. By the law of succession to him, kingship belonged. With hesitation, the counselors made Alalu swear an oath of truth. Alalu swore the oath of life or death as king. They then summoned the elders, and they summoned the 3 other princes before them.
This
From
does
among
get a
the
little
princes,
bit long-winded
a young, strong, and
occasionally.
wise prince stepped
okay.
forward. The young
kinda cool,
prince
though.
objected their decision of Alalu. Succession must be reconsidered to the assembly, he said. Of the purest of seed I am descended. The essence of An in me is preserved, by no concubine diluted. The counselors heard the words with amazement. The prince was summoned to come closer. They asked for his name. It is Anu, after my great forefather An, I was named. They inquired about his generations of An. Anu then reminded them of the 3 sons of An. Enuru is my great ancestor, the eldest son of An. The counselors with wonderment looked at each other. He is of pure descent, the generations continued, by law and by seed, which is perfect. Anu, after our forefather An, did my parents name me. From the throne we were removed, but from An's pure seed we were not removed. Let Anu be king, many counselors shouted. Let Alalu be removed. But others urged caution. Let's call for Alalu as well. And Alalu opened his arms to receive Anu, the prince. We are from different descents, but we have the royal seed. Together, we will bring abundance back to Nibiru. May I retain the throne, and you may be my successor. Let your eldest son marry my daughter to unify the succession, and so by common consent, Alalu would remain on the throne as the rightful heir. Prince Anu would become a cupbearer to Alalu and his successor in waiting. That was the council's decision, and in the royal annals it was inscribed. He ordered to build more celestial ships and more missionaries to search for gold in the hammered bracelet to save their dying planet Nibiru. But it was reported that none of the previous ships and missionaries has returned from the hammered bracelet. Then Alalu commanded to hurl the weapons of terror onto the volcanoes, so Nibiru's bowels may open. Mountains swayed, valleys shuddered, but the rain refused to fall and the winds gusted. The Atlantean civilization was once more in peril again, on the brink of destruction. In the royal palace, Anu was treated as a servant of Alalu, and not as a prince or successor, as he was due. And in cities, the people of Nibiru no longer worshipped their king. Instead of relief, Alalu brought only misery. And yet on the throne he remained. After the 9th Shah of Alalu's reign, Anu gave battle to Alalu. To hand combat, with bodies naked as it was the great Atlantean
Like the
tradition of their
Olympics.
forefathers. Alalu,
Yeah.
he challenged. Let the winner be king,
If you're gonna
Anu
fight,
said. They grappled with each
listen,
other in the
listen,
public square.
Listen, if you're gonna have a hand-to-hand combat to determine who is the king of the world, then it really should be naked to make it as gay as possible, I think.
Well, absolutely. We need to be in awe and laugh at the same time.
Can you imagine though? Like, but think about it. This actually happened at the Olympics. They actually had the Olympics naked, like in real life. That actually happened. Can you fucking imagine?
Oh, the abuse those poor little gonads went through.
Oh God! I don't want to think about it.
What was it? Somebody just oh shoot, I just missed it. Was it Brian? Hold on. He just said that it's like the AI train on Avatar movies. Yeah, it's I was thinking that they're coming up with this. I kept going, this looks like Avatar meets Star Wars, and also everybody looks like Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
But you know what? But it's so
Awesome.
cool though. Can we just admit that, like, okay, it's a little bit cheesy and the AI isn't there yet, but like this didn't exist a couple years ago, and now
Yeah.
we can make entire fucking movies, and it's just like it might not be perfect, but it's still better than what we were doing before. And it's really like, I mean, I see all these AI videos on like my Instagram where it's like, here's what AI imagines life in ancient Egypt was like, or things like, and it's interesting, you know?
Yeah. I think it's really beautiful. I don't mind that it's a little weird looking because it gives it more of an alien quality for the subject matter. I get kind of sick of the blue and red and green, blue and red. Sorry, I know my colors, blue and red.
I wish there were like some pauses in it. It's just like it's like one story goes into the next story. It's like, just, it's okay to take a beat, you know?
Yeah, have a moment. That's yeah, exactly. Shit, there was something else. Oh, I was on some of the AI stuff that they're doing, which I think is, speaking of history. I don't know if you've ever seen the restoration of some old film footage from like
No.
the 1800s.
Oh, I have. Yeah,
Where
they
it's been
colorize it.
smoothed and colorized, and it looks like a
Yes.
real film, like something taken from modern. That shit is amazing.
It's so cool.
I'm starting to get on board Team AI. I am a little bit, within reason.
It's so cool. No,
keep
there's so much you can do with it.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
I have decided that AI for like tarot cards sucks though. Like, not for like, so what you have to do is like you have to, like, if you pull the cards yourself, it can actually give you interesting interpretations of it. But if you're just using the AI programs to, like, you know, pull cards on it's not fucking random. I experimented a lot. I was trying to figure out, like, is this actually random, or is the AI like using the questions I'm asking to try to figure out what I want to hear? And I figured out that it's using the questions I'm asking to figure out what I want to hear.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Just like a good little algorithm.
Yeah, so I never quite fully trusted the AI, but I like the, like, and it's funny too, because like it's almost like on, and I haven't done this a lot lately, but like it's almost like you get a different psychic every time you use the AI to interpret the tarot cards, because some days it's like really good and really and like really nuanced, and the other days it's like it just sucks. And it's like completely different. It's like it's almost like you're talking to a completely different person. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Actually, I'm using exactly the same chat GPT, but it's like I've gone to sit over on this table instead of at this table. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this, like, it's not connecting with you today.
Yeah, but it's weird.
But I would hope that, even though yes, it's all energy, I would hope that a computer would not be as adept as communicating with spirit as an organic spirit is.
Well,
just saying.
and this is why, like, I mean, I found it helpful, like, if I'm pulling my own cards, and obviously, like, I know how to read tarot cards, so I understand like the basic mise-en-scène, but sometimes, like, with combination cards or things like that, it'll give me insight that I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have actually thought about it like that, but like that kind of makes sense actually.
Or so, I get kind of hung up sometimes with inverted meetings. I'm like, I know it's supposed to be a simple opposite, but it's not always that simple.
It's not always that simple.
Yeah.
But so it's interesting. It's interesting anyway. But pull your tarot card yourself and then put it in for an interpretation.
Or ask a witch.
Or ask a witch. Or hire a psychic.
There you go.
Of the main city Agade, doorposts trembled and walls shook. Alalu defeated, then bent his knee to the ground as he fell on his chest. Alalu in hand-to-hand, combat was defeated by Anu. Anu was now hailed as King Anu and was escorted to the throne room. Alalu did not return to the palace, and in all the commotion he stealthily escaped through the crowds, fearing that Anu might have him killed. Unbeknownst to others, the place of the celestial ships he hurriedly went. Into a missile-throwing chariot Alalu climbed. Its hatch behind him he closed. The forepart of the cabin chamber he entered, then to commander's seat he occupied. That which shows the way he lit up. With bluish aura the chamber filled. The firestones he stirred up, their hum-like music was enthralling. The chariot's great cracker he enlivened, a reddish brilliance it was casting. Unbeknownst to others, in the celestial boat, Alalu from Nibiru escaped. To a snow-hued planet called Ki, known today as Earth, Alalu set his course. By a secret from the beginning, he chose this destination. On Nibiru, exile was certain for Alalu, and his death likely. High above, in the safety of his celestial ship, Alalu watched the planet Nibiru. It was a gigantic sphere suspended in the void. The fire of eruptions, even if more tenuous, flickered, offering an exuberant glow. The radiance of its mighty fullness was the beauty of the skies of other worlds. Like an eagle, Alalu scanned the skies, admiring the beauty of the planet that gave him life. Then, controlling his celestial ship, Alalu turned to the vastness of the outer realms of space with Nibiru at his back. On one side, the darkness of space lay. On the other, the giant volcanic eruptions disappeared into the great dark sea. Thus, the planets and atmospheres that King Ensher had once studied and named after the ancestors became visibly to Alalu. Little Gaga, known as Pluto, offered its welcome. Then the celestial Anzu, the bluish and sparkling planet known as Neptune, made itself felt, offering a good omen with its exuberant hue due to its pure waters. Enchanted by the beauty but following his course, Alalu found Uranus, the planet dedicated to An, with a blue-green glow. But his fate took the course of the first prince of heaven, Ansha. The rings were beautiful and resplendent and seemed to bewitch the celestial ship. Alalu appreciated the rings of the extraordinary planet that would later be named Saturn by humanity. But suddenly, a bad omen had weighed on his heart. A gigantic shadow prevented him from enjoying the far-sighted sun, plunging his entire ship into an icy twilight. It was the gigantic planet Kisha, also known as Jupiter. Swirling storms mixed different shades to the spots that occupied the planet. It was as if Kisha provoked intense lightning. Such activity caused...
Jennifer, how did they write this script? How did they know all this? Like, where are they getting this information from?
So, it is claimed that this is a combination of the Emerald Tablets.
The Emerald Tablets.
Yeah, Thoth actually is, of course, we know Thoth from Egyptian history as a god, of course, of wisdom and so forth. But Thoth is actually one of the sons of Anu, or a grandson of Anu. And was born on Earth. And so he begins to write all this shit down on the Emerald Tablets. Also, there are some cuneiform things that have been discovered that talk about this. And there are Sumerian tablets and records, Babylonian also. And to top it all off, channeling.
Of course.
Naturally.
The channeling.
As you do.
We still need to find ourselves a channel. I haven't given up on this dream. We need to find someone to channel Hitler for us so we can ask some real questions.
Do you know, I actually have been looking at pet psychics because I need some answers for because of recent events. And I have, but I'll tell you, it's hard. I don't know how we're going to find so I said, don't call them channels. What did I say to call them? I can't think of, whatever, channelers.
Medium?
Medium, there it is. My brain still hasn't quite come back into my head. It has been a long month.
It's all good. All good.
Anyway, I'm like reading the bios of these psychics, and I'm just thinking, how do I know you're the right one for me? Or how do I know I'm not going to waste this $150 or whatever? And I started thinking about us too, going, how the hell are we going to be able to interview these people? How we got to figure that out.
Yep.
It'll be cool.
Figure it out. It'll be cool. The right person will make themselves known. We're going to manifest this.
Trust and believe.
The universe has got our back. God wants us to channel Hitler, Jennifer. God wants us to have answers.
Why wouldn't he?
Exactly.
He wants us all to understand better.
Yes.
For sure.
Alalu to get lost in the immensity and for a lapse of time to be confused in the direction to be taken. Upon regaining consciousness of his mission, Alalu gazed at the sun in the distance, gaining space in front of Kisha, who was little by little further away. But his whole body shuddered and the fear of death found the warrior Alalu. It was the Hammered Bracelet, a cluster of rocks and stones grouped together like fatherless orphans. Ensha once told him that the region was protected by a huge asteroid belt. All the Atlantans who had tried to cross the region previously had lost their lives. The rocks swallowed up the sounding ships that came from Nibiru like wild, hungry lions. Alalu could sense other deceased Atlanteans as he could witness every explosion on every ship of every Atlantean that passed away. Fearing for his life, the valiant warrior Alalu took courage. He wasn't going to give up that easily. He knew that if the secret was true, if his ancestors hadn't lied to him or been wrong, then the gold would be found, and the glory of a heavenly reign was imminent. Thus, Alalu fought face to face with the rocks. He fed the ship's firestones and unleashed a deadly missile against the rocks, which slammed each other with the momentum. And then the weapons of terror were hurled into space. Open up to your king. I am Alalu, a warrior from Nibiru, equipped with a ship, weapons and missiles. He yelled to himself. Nothing will stand in my way. My destiny is glory. A heavenly reign has been prepared for me. As by spell, the hammered bracelet opened like a gate, and Alalu could see a path of immense darkness through the rocks. And passing through the hole opened in the hammered bracelet, Alalu could feel the glory of his fate. All other Atlanteans had died in this attempt, but not him. Alalu swiftly crossed the 6th planet in the account of the celestial gods. It was a reddish-brown planet known as Mars. His path led towards the sun. When suddenly he saw the new world. The planet was divided into 3 regions. It was covered in white by snow at the top and bottom, then blue and brown in between. It was the 7th planet, without a doubt, that was the legendary key, later known as Earth. Alalu circled the planet and could observe land and oceans, and then he turned on the equipment to check the depths. The penetrating ray was directed, and then the radar showed not only life, but heavy metals deep within its core. The gold was there. The lightning showed gold, a lot of gold. I found it, said Alalu, but excitement soon gave way to fear when he realized what could happen, how to land safely. If it were on dry land, it could explode, and then he dies. And if it were in the waters, possibly the warrior would sink towards oblivion. For any decision, it seemed to be too late. The gravitational pull was strong and his aircraft's wings glowed. The atmosphere was like an oven, finer than Nibiru's, and its net of attraction weaker. And then the celestial ship began to shudder. Impact seemed imminent, and his heart clenched in agony. And then there was a heavy bang, and small flashes were seen. The ship landed, and Alalu was thrown unconscious, becoming completely immobile, inert, and passed out. There was no dimension by which time could be measured, and with absolutely no sense, the once King Alalu managed to move and realize that he had survived. This was the moment when the first Anunnaki Atlantean arrived on Earth, also known as Ki. Regaining full consciousness, Alalu beheld that his ship had come down on dry land on the edge of wide marshes. Alalu opened the door of his ship. He observed the soil he was on and took his...
Go ahead.
So they call themselves the Atlanteans or the Atlanteans. And they're sort of also... Well, this video is also calling them Anunnaki simultaneously, because that's how we know them. But Anunnaki is probably not what they called themselves until maybe they got here and started describing themselves to mankind. Because if you'll notice, planet Earth is called Ki, K-I.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The king of the time is Anu. So you have Anunnaki.
Okay.
So it's like the king came to Earth. But I think there's supposed to be... I've heard 4 different interpretations of like those from heaven to Earth came. Angels come to Earth. Like I've heard different interpretations of how they've figured that all out. But whatever. I mean, but I just find it interesting that the king's name is Anu and the planet is Ki, and it sounds like the king came to Earth to me, or those to Earth from heaven came. Whatever. Anyhow, ta-da. That's all.
Cool. And actually, Tron just said Anunnaki is translated to from the stars or something.
They'll make that 5. That's 5 now that I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
First steps on the beautiful, alluring planet. He walked among the waters of the marshland and shivered with the cold. He realized that he was a lone traveler, possibly exiled forever from Nibiru. In the new world, no one had received him, and so, there too, he was alone. He pondered his family, his reign, the battle with Anu, the dangers he had faced, and the hammered bracelet. Was he exiled from Nibiru forever? His once home seemed farther than ever before. Anguish gripped his chest, and then he returned to the ship to feed and drink from stored replenishments. That's when a deep sleep overcame him, a powerful lethargy that sent him to sleep, and once again unconsciousness found him. Alalu had fallen asleep while his thoughts were lost in all history and all he knew. Alalu had been properly trained and prepared before his reign. He had been among the great commanders and the wise scholars since childhood. Anyone who thought that Alalu was just a supporting actor in this story was wrong. Alalu had learned much from his ancestor Anshargal, knowing the heavens and the circuits. By Enshar, his forefather, his knowledge was broadened in a grandiose way, and it was like a profound connoisseur that Alalu remembered conversing with a sage about the secrets of the beginning of Nibiru and the times before them. And this secret that Alalu kept led him to the distant planet beyond the hammered bracelet that would one day be called Earth. A long time ago, before many planets in the Milky Way galaxy came into existence, there was a massive planet named Tiamat in the solar system.
Tiamat.
It was named after its ruler, the Draconian Dragon Queen, who not only governed the world Tiamat, but also ruled over the entire Orion star system after the Great Orion Wars.
What is it?
It was she who established a connection.
What does it mean to be in charge of us? What do they do? Do they are they like overseers?
Yeah, they're the ones who are the ones behind the ones in charge.
What does that mean, Jennifer?
So, from my understanding, and don't quote me on this,
Okay.
from my understanding, there was a battle for who would rule Earth. The good guys or the bad guys. The bad guys were the Draconians. The Draconians won.
Oh, good.
They took over rulership of Earth and have been leading everything from the background pretty much since the Anunnaki left or soon thereafter.
What does that mean?
So they're the ones who are, and I think these are the ones that don't have souls that can reincarnate. I could be wrong about that. So that's why they eat our fear. I've heard that kind of story. I've heard that they're the ones behind all of the major leadership, the wars. They profit off of conflict. And they're the ones who are behind all the groups, the Illuminati, the Bilderbergers, like pick one, like yes, lizard people. Boomer, exactly. So that's sort of the Draconians are like the master lizard race. They're very ancient. They live extraordinarily long lives, and we'll have to do another dive on them.
Yes, we'll have to do another dive on the lizard people another time.
All of the leadership of the Earth answers to them.
Oh, good. Do they know they answer to them? Like, is it made clear?
If you are in the in crowd, if you are in the upper echelon in crowd, yes, you do know.
Does Donald Trump know about them?
I don't know if he does or doesn't.
Is he, because you could make the argument that the president of the United States, like in the grand scheme of like the rulers of Earth, is probably not at the top level. Like there are many layers above him. But like, wouldn't that be funny? Like I don't think there's any possibility that Trump could know about any of this stuff, because I don't think he'd be able to keep it a secret.
I know, right? I think that he has been, from what I understand from people who have been close to him and interviewed on these kinds of topics, like the Illuminati, the Bilderbergers, the Majestic 12, and the Draconian shadow government, let's call it, that he has been invited but never accepted because he doesn't want any part of the corruption of it. So I've heard one guy say that they've tried several times to get him in, because when he was just a rich and powerful guy, way before he was even involved in politics. Some have accepted, like, oh, my poor brain. I just had his name too. The dude that did Facebook and Zuckerberg, and of course our guy that just bought a whole bunch of land in the middle of the shit. Why can't I think of anybody's fucking name right now? This is so annoying. I hate when my brain is foggy. Oh, I can see his freaking stupid little face. Yes, Bill Gates. That little worm. He's in. But they vet you first. The Clintons, a lot of the big families, like the big powerful 5 families, all have leadership. The whole families don't know, but some of the major do, like Chase and Morgan and that kind of stuff. They know the Bushes. There's a few that know, but not the whole family, just certain members that are all kind of reporting to. So there's like the shadow government is basically run by the Draconians, is what I'm understanding.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Excellent. Good.
Totally fine.
Okay. Totally fine. Nothing could go wrong. No.
Nah.
connection with a royal hybrid race that had been rejected by most known civilizations in the cosmos. The great and first Atlantean king, Anu of Nibiru, joined forces with Queen Tiamat, leading to the creation of 12 hybrid humanoids. These beings were evenly split between males and females, and they stood heights ranging from 30 to 35 feet tall. They possessed both reptilian and humanoid characteristics, just as the native Atlantean royals. These offspring, entrusted to An and their descendants, became known as most of the Igigi, the titanic workforce class of Nibiru. However, their peaceful union did not endure, leading to a conflict between the Atlanteans of Nibiru and the Dragon Queen Tiamat. Tiamat gave birth to her son, Kingu, and raised him to fight in her reptilian army of 50 to 60 foot tall dragon-human hybrids, pitting them against the 10-14 foot tall Atlanteans. Tiamat, who ruled over all the planets in the solar system, granted her son Kingu 2 celestial gifts for his leadership role. The first gift was the powerful cosmic tablets of destiny, which allowed the holder to track and control the orbits and trajectories of planets and solar systems. The second gift was an abundance of gold extracted from the planet Tiamat itself. During the celestial battles, Nibiru's main mothership unleashed immensely powerful blows and evil winds upon the planet Tiamat, ultimately obliterating it entirely. Queen Tiamat and Kingu emerged unharmed, but the planet's other half was separated, forming a distinct planet now known as Ki, or Earth. The debris and rocks from this event created what we now call the asteroid belt, or the hammered bracelet. Initially, the planet Ki was abundant with gold, a valuable resource to the Anunnaki Atlanteans. Over time, it became a legendary myth among the Atlantean people, and this was the secret from the beginning and the Battle of the Gods, which Alalu knew all. Finding gold at the hammered bracelet was confirmation. The gold on the hammered bracelet was the hint of gold on top of ancient Tiamat. The secret of the beginning that he had been taught began to show clear signs of its veracity. And it was thus that Alalu awoke, not knowing how long he had slept. The escape from Nibiru was just the beginning of a new story, a new time, and a new world. Taken of courage, Alalu arose, perceiving a luminosity out of his ship, such as he had never seen on Nibiru. It was the sun. Alalu stretched and gauged over the ship and tested the planet's air. It was compatible. Then, he opened the ship's door, and with the hatches open, he breathed the air deeply. And then again. Ki's air was undoubtedly compatible. Then, without protective suit, Alalu descended from his ship. The light was too bright, and the sun's rays were overwhelming. He had to go back and put a mask to protect his eyes, and he took the opportunity to equip himself with a gun with a collector. He stepped onto the dark ground and walked into the swamp. With the collector, he tested the water, but it was not fit for consumption. The waters were murky, dark, and greenish. And there was one more important detail that his eyes glimpsed. There were fish, a lot of fishes. Alalu went towards the hills. He passed among the vegetation and appreciated the bushes that gave way to trees full of fruit. Then he took one of its fruits and put it in his mouth. The taste was sweet. Walking on his feet, it was possible to feel the moisture. He then walked towards a pond of silent waters. Once again, he inserted the collector into the waters, but this time, it was different. It was possible to drink the water. Joy had taken over his entire body. The new world had breathable air, fruit that could be eaten, and water to drink. That's when a sound, a hissing, distracted him. His weapon in hand, he looked for the source of the sound, and having found it, fired. The sound ended, and the hissing ceased.
Did he kill
Then
the
he
snake
saw
with
a
a
body
gun?
that was motionless, lying dead. The creature had fierce eyes.
He killed the snake in the Garden of Eden with a gun?
Well, we haven't quite gotten to Eden yet. We're way far from Eden.
Oh,
But yeah, he was like, "Ow, the snake is scared to snuck up on him," and he was like, "Ah."
Killed it with a gun.
Yep. The first act was eating and then violence on our planet, according to this.
Couldn't even just let the snake be. Had to kill it with a gun.
Poor little Snecky. No
Yeah.
step on Snick.
In its small head, and out of its mouth stuck out a huge tongue. The body was slender as a rope without hands or feet. It was a crawling creature.
A
Alalu
crawling
wondered what kind of creature it was. He had never seen anything like it on Nibiru. Was it a guardian animal, a master of water?
Well, perhaps he shouldn't have killed it with his
Alalu
gun.
left the creature behind and found
He
his
could
way
have
back
just
to the
asked
ship.
it.
Nearby, he collected water and
Snake or
fruits.
thing.
During the journey, the sun's rays sharply diminished, and thus Alalu was astonished. It got dark, very
Add
dark.
Vin Diesel to
The
the
suddenness
list
with
of
which it had gone
AI
dark was
inspirations.
surprising. And over the marsh, a light rose on the horizon. A huge red ball that, as it rose, turned white. Alalu was thrilled. From his ship, he contemplated the infinite and the firmament of a new world. Now, and on the way, he could see all the planets. He witnessed and passed through the hammered bracelet. Alalu decided to wait for a new day rise to investigate the detected presence of gold. If the secret of the beginning of this planet were true, then the waters would rot with Tiamat's golden veins. And there, in the waters or lands of Ki, the gold would be found. At sunrise, Alalu left his ship with the necessary equipment and, seeking the waters, he inserted what was needed to find the gold materials. Watching the meter, the symbols and numbers being filled in, the truth came. It was true. He had found gold in Ki. There was gold on Earth. Taken back in enthusiasm that did not belong to him, Alalu entered his ship in a hurry, and in his possession was a radio communication device. He addressed his message to the depths of space, in the direction of Nibiru. Attention, Nibiru. I repeat, attention, Nibiru. It is your king who speaks to you. It is Alalu, your former king. I left in one of the celestial ships. I gambled my life on the luck of my deeds and very skillfully discovered how to break through the hammered bracelet. The rock belt paved the way, and I have reached the planet of Ki. Its fruits, water, and air is compatible. I am Alalu, the first Atlantean to arrive on the planet of salvation. I have found gold. Yes, I have found gold on the planet Ki. The fate of Nibiru is in my hands. The creator of all has proven my royal lineage is a blessed and rightful one. Pay attention and listen to my conditions. And considering this fact,
I just love
Alalu
this.
made it clear.
I just love this. This guy was like a horrible king, and he got banished and all that. And then he makes his way to Earth in his banishment, and he finds it, and he finds the gold, and he sends this message back saying, "Listen, fuckers, I'm very humbly telling you that I have found the planet that's going to save us all, and now you assholes are going to bend the knee to me and meet my demands."
I mean, what a boss move. He's like billions upon billions of miles away from his home world, and he's like, I'm taking my throne back from here.
I was like, I have the gold. I got through the hammered bracelet where none of you could. And I love how the movie was like, he very humbly said,
I am your king. I mean, your former king. I want to see this in a series so badly on TV. Like, Netflix needs to pick this up and option it. I want to see this. It could be like the next Game of Thrones, but in space kind of a thing. It'd be so great.
I just love it. I'm like thinking back to like all those times when I've been right about something that everyone else on social media was wrong about, and like I got flamed on social media, and then 6 months later I was proven 100% right, and I'm like, fuck you all. Except
you're cool.
Exactly. Like he's doing the same thing, except he's like, I'm taking back my planet, asshole.
Yeah, you want this gold, you want to save it. Well, and here's the other thing that's ironic. He refused initially to do anything about it, about the atmosphere. And it wasn't until he was pushed and humiliated in naked wrestling, no less, that he finally found his balls to go do something to help his planet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of fucked up in a way.
Sometimes it just takes a gay naked wrestling match to get your priorities straight. You know, men have the ways that they go about doing things, and sometimes gay naked wrestling apparently is just what's required to get a man to actually step up and act like a fucking man.
Just a little dick shaking, you know.
It's true, though. though. Like men
Boy.
have all. This is what I've learned about hanging out with the Groypers. Like men have all these rituals where they posture to each other just to show off, and like they insult each other, and like they get in fights with each other over nothing, and they start more drama than women. They really do. Like men are way more dramatic than women are. Not somewhat. Men are way more dramatic than women like us. We're like sitting there watching the men, going like, "You're all behaving like a bunch of fucking morons."
Yeah.
But but in the meantime, they're like.
And then they're cool. Like the only thing that's great about guys though is that once they get over it, they're over it.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, bro, let's go get a beer. And like with chicks though, we'd be like, she scratched my eyes out. You scratched my eyes out first. And then it would keep going forever into eternity.
Yeah, I know nothing about hanging on to a grudge forever in eternity, Jennifer. That's never happened to me.
Not you, my love. No,
that would never happen. That would never happen. No. No.
The fate of Nibiru is in my hands, and you must heed my conditions, said Alalu. The notice that Alalu had survived reached the royal palace on Nibiru and was transmitted to King Anu.
I bet it did reach the royal palace.
Anu was astonished. The counselors and sages had also been surprised.
He's alive?
Everyone thought that Alalu had died. The commanders were quickly asked to check all the ships and found that, in fact, one of them had disappeared. Alalu surely would have taken it. With the confirmation, Anu reflected on how he should proceed. He decided to order that greetings be conveyed to Alalu. They conveyed his personal message to Alalu over the transmitter. Greetings, Alalu. I, the King Anu of Nibiru, salutes you. There was no reason for you to leave, dear Alalu. Know that in my heart there is no enmity. If thou hast indeed come to find gold, let the glory of Nibiru be exalted, and let salvation indeed take place. Anu's message quickly reached Earth, where Alalu heeded. In a bellicose tone, Alalu readily answered, if I am to be the savior, then let Nibiru be worthy of my deeds. Let the princes be summoned in assembly and declare my ascendancy supreme. May commanders make me their leader. May they bow to my orders. May I be named king. May my name override Anu on the throne. And may the council and the 7 who judge stand by my words. As soon as the words of Alalu reached Nibiru, the consternation was great. How could Anu be deposed? The advisors were confused. Where would Alalu be? Was it true that he had found the gold of salvation? What if it was a ruse? One of the counselors, the oldest of them, made his voice heard in the assembly. He said, I was the master of Alalu. He knows the secrets from the beginning before Nibiru. Alalu knows the celestial battle, of the gigantic watery planet Tiamat and of the golden veins it inherited. He has deep knowledge. So if Alalu truly did break through the hammered bracelet, he found his destiny on the 7th planet, which we know as Ki. Then a prince of Anu took the word. Alalu cannot demand terms. The calamities were his works, and he lost his throne in combat. If it's true that he found the gold, it needs to be proven. And even if he found the gold, would it be enough? There was silence. The ones who took the word in the assembly was Enlil, the Lord of Command. Enlil is the son of Anu with his legitimate wife, the Queen Antu. The decision of the assembly has been transmitted to Alalu, and then the first Atlantean to arrive on Earth pondered all the points as if he were playing a chess game. The movement of each piece should be meticulous. Alalu agreed and testified of all his journey and the dangers he passed through. From the sampler he took his crystal, from the collector his crystal heart, and inserted the objects into the transmitter for verification. And having sent the proofs over to Nibiru, he addressed new elements of his bargain. He said, now that you already have the proof, declare me king and bow to my orders. Alalu's words were stern and sharp. The sages were horrified, but they found that indeed the location of Alalu originated far beyond the hammered bracelet. And to discuss the matter, the assembly met once more. Anu's eldest son had spoken. He was married to Damkina, the daughter of Alalu. He was known as the Wanis whose home was water. Enki was his name. My birth father is Anu, and by marriage Alalu turns out to be my father as well. The intention of my marriage was to unite the clans. Allow me to bring unity to this conflict. Let me be Anu's emissary. Let me take the gold from Alalu and deliver it for Nibiru. I will make Alalu the proclaimed king on earth. And if salvation really reaches Nibiru, let a new battle and plan to take place to determine Nibiru's throne. Enki's words were wise, and they filled the hall of assembly. The advisors complied, and Anu pronounced the sentence. So be it, and a new fight I will bestow on Alalu. Let the victorious be Nibiru's king. The decision was conveyed to Alalu, who agreed. I will receive Enki on earth, and may he obtain the gold of the waters. May he carry out the tests, and that in the future a new battle for the throne of Nibiru will take place. Enki addressed the commanders at the ship's location and began the preparation.
There you go.
I'm wondering if anybody else is catching on to a little bit of a synergy or a correlation with a god in heaven who has many great sons and servants around him. One is cast out, defeated in battle, goes to Earth, and is given the title the King of Earth. Does that sound familiar to anybody?
No.
Satan, Lucifer.
Oh, right. Satan. I was not raised a Christian, Jennifer. I don't know these things.
Well, we just did the whole invention of Satan thing.
I know, but I wasn't
like a month
thinking
ago,
about it.
Yeah, so that's kind of what just so
Oh.
my point is that there are
So Alalu is a fallen. Alalu is Lucifer.
it can be
Alalu.
Alleluia, Lucifer. Alalu. I think could be looked at as Lucifer in this way, or whatever the name of the angel was that was cast out, or the Lucifer. Well, I think we learned that the Satan was actually an arbiter. He was like a lawyer in the kingdom of heaven.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever the names are, it's just an interesting to know, because names change from culture to culture and throughout history. The symbology is still kind of the same. You've got the king in heaven with all of his angels or people or whatever, and then you have the one that came to earth because he was basically cast out. And now a whole host of them are going to follow, as we're going to see here. Now Enki is saying, let me go down there with a bunch of dudes. Let's check it out. And so here come the third of the angels or whatever that followed him. It's just really...
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Whoever wrote the Bible could have gotten that from here, put different words in there, plunked it all in and went, no, it was actually God and the devil and angels. And we don't know. Nobody really knows. I just find it very interesting.
Of the mission. Enki would not use the weapons of terror to break through the hammered bracelet as Alalu had done. He would use water. And then the first question arose. If water was the force and not fire, where would it replenish? It was necessary to store the water in the ship. So, the studies and preparations went on for one complete Shah. It was decided to use the largest of the celestial ships. The destination of the return was calculated, and a tablet of destiny was fixed. 50 heroes were selected for the mission. Anu approved the trip, and so the Anunnaki Atlanteans entered the ship, carrying their space helmets and wearing space garments. Enki knelt in reverence to his father, Anu, to receive the royal blessing. Anu said, Enki, my dear eldest son, it will be a long trip. Safely go and return, and may thy success overtake us on Nibiru. Ninul, his mother, and Damkina, his wife, also bid farewell to Enki, who was the last to join the celestial ship's departure. Then Anzu, which name means he who knows the heavens, was Enki's first commander and pilot of the ship. Anzu lifted the gigantic craft over Nibiru's skies, beginning the mission that would soon reach Ki, also known as Earth. The ship respectfully passed all the planets that honored Nibiru's royalty, until it found the fearsome and challenging hammered bracelet. The mission was carefully calculated and prepared, so with jets of water and not with the weapons of terror as Alalu had done. It would smoothly remove the gigantic rocks of the asteroid belt. The whoops of joy as the hammered bracelet erupted were euphoric, but soon gave way to apprehension. Anzu sounded the alarm. To clear a path between the rocks, more water than planned had been used. There would be no water to feed the ship's flaming stones for the rest of the journey. At the head of the gigantic Atlantean ship was Lamu, the red planet that would later be called Mars. Anzu, the skilled pilot, slowed the ship and rounded the edge of a lake, landing onto the planet Mars. Together, Enki and Anzu donned their space helmets and descended to solid ground. A water-sucking pipe was ordered to draw water from the lake into the ship, and it was done. With the ship resupplied, once again the sky giant departed with its final destination addressed to planet Earth. And as soon as they approached Earth and the transmitting signal from Alalu was picked up, they could see the oceans and the dry land contrasting with the tones of snow in the two-thirds of the planet. But as they got closer, they noticed the strong attraction of the planet and the weight of the snow for landing in the swampy region. Anzu circled the entire planet once more, seeking the ship's deceleration and closer proximity to the ground. And finally, the gigantic ship descended on the waters of the Earth. That's when a message reached the ship. Alalu said, "Welcome to the land." The gigantic ship took the signal, and Anzu floated the spaceship towards Alalu's coordinates. "Quick," said Alalu, "make haste." Anzu ordered all Anunnaki on board to put their space garments on. The ship's door opened and the heroes descended from the ship. Enki, however, was left without a spacesuit. His heart was beating like a drum. He dived and swam freely in the water and could feel that the waters were deep and much deeper than he imagined it. As soon as he reached the bank, he saw Alalu, who embraced him and said, "Welcome, my son-in-law. Welcome to a new world." And then, as the heroes moved, Alalu greeted each one and bid them welcome. Enki said to the rest of the Anunnaki, "Here on Earth, I am the commander. We've come a long way for an important mission. The future of Nibiru is in our hands. It's a life or death mission. Let's get to work." Anzu, convey to the king, my father, the good news of our arrival on the planet. Soon the sky turned reddish, orange and darkened. Alalu explained, "A night on Earth is far shorter than you can imagine. Let's take the opportunity to rest. Before you can imagine, the sun will herald a new day." And so, night came, and a new day dawned. And with the new day, Enki offered specific tasks to some of the Atlantean crew. Engur would be tasked as the Lord of Fresh Waters, Enkimdu, in charge of the ditch and the dikes, Enbilulu to the command of the swamps. And having known the fruits which his vizier Izimud could distinguish, Enki charged Guru to see for growing food. So the camps were erected, ditches and dikes were built. Kula produced clay bricks, Mushdamu produced the foundations, Enosag studied the serpents and slithering snakes, and Ulmash checked the animals of the waters and the birds of the air, classifying and studying them. Then 6 days had passed. On the 7th day, Enki pronounced, "We came from afar and traveled a long way. We built our camp and analyzed everything around us. Let's call our fenced-in building home away from home and name it Eridu." And keeping his promise, Enki appointed Alalu the commander of Eridu. And then, he added, "Let this 7th day be consecrated to our rest.
Aha!
And may it always be
Hang on.
the 7th day, our
The 7th day.
The day of rest. Because they were working for 6 days, getting things figured out, figuring out assignments, giving everybody their work to be done. And now it is the 7th day, and we shall rest.
Indeed, indeed. Wait, what, Victor?
Is that a husband sighting?
Victor came in to get weed. What? You like the glasses? Oh, you like the no glasses look? My husband is admiring how I look with no glasses.
Oh, he's so sweet.
As he's coming in to take my drugs. He would never do that. Victor would never get high. It would never happen. I'm just lying. I'm making it up.
Weed's not a drug. It's an enhancement herb.
Exactly. It's gonna help him sleep.
Drugs are refined and put through processes and chemicals and shit.
It's
This is
medicine.
an enhancement herb.
It's gonna put him to sleep. It's gonna be fine.
Yes, but the 7th day technically is Saturday. If we start on Sunday, if the week starts on Sunday, the 7th day is Saturday. If we go by those,
So
whatever.
we should be resting on Saturday and not Sunday.
So guess who has that right?
Who?
The Jews.
Oh, well, we don't give them credit for those things, though.
Seventh Day Adventists, and also the church that I used to go to. We were Sabbath keepers. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Anyway, just another thing. I mean, again, nothing has one origin, I don't think.
That's true enough.
Day of rest. As soon as the day of rest was over, the search for gold had to begin. Enki began to suck the marshy waters for 6 consecutive days, and on the 7th day, Enki and Alalu watched the collected metals. There was iron, there was copper, but gold was not plentiful. They worked on separating the metals, and on the next 7th day, then rested. And on the following 6 days they filled and emptied the crystal vessels, so that on the 7th day they would count the metals. Gold was the smallest of piles. During the entire period of work, Enki was in awe of Kingu, the large moon that shined over the planet. What was this strange connection that the moon and the earth had with each other? What celestial sign was there? And then Enki called the full circle of the moon a month, and they worked on the metals for a few months. Then Enki could see the sun, and to every 6 months he provided the name of a hot season. On the next 6 months, a cold one. There was winter and summer, and Enki called the whole 12 months a year. At the end of each year, he counted the accumulated gold. And with the levels of gold in an alarming situation...
Hang on. No, Thomas, we're talking about the Anunnaki. I don't know if this has to do with biblical bronze discs, but like...
I think he's talking about the book of Enoch.
Oh, okay. Okay, I don't know anything about that.
These are the tablets, the jade tablets. Yeah, the emerald tablets.
Emerald tablets. I know about those.
Yeah.
The Atlanteans decided to sink their ship through the waters in search of the gold in the depths. Anu kept communication from Nibiru and asked on the amounts of gold, but it was insufficient. And so it was decided to wait for one more Shah. And with more time on Earth, the parts of the ship were separated, and Enki built a chamber. With the chamber, Enki and Abgal flew low over the Earth, watching and studying the planet. Enki was intrigued. He and Alalu talked, "Where are Tiamat's golden veins?" And on Nibiru, much apprehension grew. Gold was desired, and not only desired, it was essential. The protests increased, and Anu eventually said, "Hand over what gold you have. Repair Alalu's ship, and may he bring gold to Nibiru." Enki took the weapons of terror from the ship of Alalu and hid them in a distant and secret place. Anzu worked to prepare the ship of Alalu so that it would be ready to travel to Nibiru to deliver the gold as soon as the Shah ended. And it was not long before Anzu observed the absence of the...
I didn't say anything about that. I didn't say anything. All I said was we were covering the Anunnaki. You guys are acting like drunk, or you're not listening to what's being said. I'm sorry. Like, all I said was we were covering the Anunnaki. Like, everyone fucking relax.
Weapons of terror. These weapons should not be used either on skies or land. But without them, it is dangerous to cross the hammered bracelet. Alalu's ship has no jets of water, I have to remind you. The words of the Atlanteans on Earth were heard by the Council of Nibiru. The risk was of not being able to return. And then Abgal took the word to say that he would like to take this risk in Alalu's place. "I will deliver the gold to Nibiru," he said. The Atlantean astronomers studied the best moment, and then Abgal took the ship on the way of Nibiru, carrying with him the gold of salvation. Abgal, the skilled pilot, departed from Earth, destined to Nibiru, aware of all risks in which the mission was involved. Enki Enam Alalu granted him a safe trip and farewell. Watching his ship take off into the skies, Enki and Alalu were apprehensive, and on Nibiru, the clamor for the arrival of gold was intense. Despite all the expectation on both sides, Abgal was the intermediary who carried the hope of salvation and therefore concentrated on his journey. Luck was with him. There was no doubt about it. Abgal steered the ship around Mars to gain strength from there, and launched towards Nibiru. And all this was only possible because he made Enki's crystals shine to pass through the dreaded hammered bracelet. Abgal, in the ship, was heavy-hearted on his journey. Anu, on Nibiru, was...
How long did it take them to travel from the planet to Earth?
They don't say, and that bugs me because it's supposed to be further away than Pluto, like much further away.
Right.
So it's not said. I think it might get mentioned later, but in this part, they don't discuss how long. And I think it's like, it doesn't matter because, well, who knows? Maybe they had some, warp speed, chapoo, where they were just there within.
Yeah, is there like a wormhole or something? Like, what's going on?
That would be my guess. They just call them celestial ships, and so far they haven't gotten into that kind of tech talk. And I wish they would, though, because that would be super interesting.
I mean, you can say like this is all like relative, right? If they live to be 500,000 years old or whatever they live to, then it's like, so what if it takes like 200 years to go from our planet to Earth? Because like in the grand scheme of things,
it's like a week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anxious but confident, and in the distance, amid the immensity of space, the reddish hue of Nibiru gleamed, accompanied by gigantic holes in the atmosphere. On Nibiru, people waited for the gold of salvation. Abgal withstood the flaming heat of entering the planet's atmosphere and skillfully steered the craft to the designated landing spot. The crowd applauded and revered the act of heroism. And as soon as the doors of the ship were opened, Anu, the king of Nibiru, gave welcome to Abgal. Meanwhile, other Anunnaki took the gold from the ship and destined it to the appropriate place. Soon, the gold would be reduced to the finest powder to be pulverized into the atmosphere. In the assembly of the Atlanteans, Anu pronounced, "Salvation is here. The gold of salvation has arrived." Though the words of Anu were of glory and exaltation, apprehension was great among the people of Nibiru. Were the theories correct? Would the pulverized gold be able to promote the closing of the holes in the atmosphere? And the answer was affirmative. The rift that had received the gold was closing, and the royal palace was filled with joy. However, with the proximity of the sun, the rays deflected the gold and the cracks slowly opened again. The gold was not enough. Anu commanded, "Abgal, return to Earth immediately. We need abundant amounts of gold. Nungal and other Anunnaki will accompany you. Leave as soon as possible." So Abgal and other Atlanteans departed from Nibiru with Earth as their destination. When they arrived at the planet, they were received on Eridu by Enki. After the initial greetings, the work of extracting gold quickly began. What was seen, however, was worrying. The amount of gold was insufficient. Enki and Alalu, day after day, looked at each other and talked. Both of them were intrigued. Their hearts tightened. Where would the gold be abundant? Where were Tiamat's golden veins? Enki made his exploration with often flights. He knew the mountains and valleys, but it was necessary to explore further until the solution was found. Then it went towards the lands separated by the oceans, and finally the bowels of the earth revealed themselves. It was there where the dry land split in two, where the land took the shape of a heart at the bottom. The golden veins of the earth's bowels would be abundant. Enki called the area the Abzu and said, "On Abzu there is much gold." Enki communicated the news to the Council of Nibiru, and a new assembly was formed. As soon as Enki communicated the news to the planet Nibiru, hope returned everywhere. The only certainty was the need for gold exploration. But the question that remained, however, was how to obtain this gold. And in the assembly of Nibiru, Enki's half-brother Enlil spoke. First was Alalu and then Enki. Everyone waits for salvation from Shah to Shah. But now we hear different words. A task beyond the imaginable must be undertaken. To do that, you need proof of the golden veins, and you need a better plan for us to succeed with extracting the gold. And in the assembly, a great division was made. That's when Anu took the floor and uttered a decision. Let Enlil go to Earth. May the evidence be collected, and may a plan be forged. The assembly was unanimous, everyone consented. The words were conveyed to Earth, and Anu commanded, henceforth my youngest of sons, Enlil, shall be in command of Earth. His word will be order. And then Enlil began his preparations to start his mission to Earth, accompanied by the female Lieutenant Chief Alalgar. As soon as Enlil arrived on Earth, he had been received by his brother Enki, who embraced him warmly, welcoming his younger brother. Alalu, however, was not so warm in his welcome, beckoning with simple words. The rest of the Atlantean crew were anxiously awaiting for Enlil, and finally, they could begin their work. The New Earth's mission commander ordered the small ships assembled for exploration. Enki and Abgal took a ship to show the way across the Abzu, while Enlil and Alalgar followed in another spacecraft. They tested the soil of Abzu and discovered gold, but with a lot of sand and rocks. And so they returned to Eridu. In Eridu, Enlil took the floor and said that a new mission would begin. Enlil described a great plan and proposed a great mission. Enlil explained that Eridu had to be enlarged and the Igigi, the Atlantean giant workforce, would be brought from Nibiru. It was necessary to find new settlements. With this, the gold would be collected and then separated from the mixture. Then it would be transported in celestial ships from Earth to Mars, and finally, Nibiru. The plan was very detailed and seemed effective, but Enki and Alalu looked at each other. Enki questioned who will command the settlements, who will be in Abzu. Then Alalu added, who will command the new Eridu and who will supervise the settlements. Anzu then took the floor to question, who will command the ships and the landing place. Enlil was quick and concise in his reply, let Anu come to Earth and let him make the decisions himself. And so it was done. Nungal was chosen as its pilot, and together Anu and Nungal departed from Nibiru, destined to Earth. Enki provided boats to receive the king from the celestial ship that landed on the water. And as soon as he saw Anu, his father, he bowed towards him, and Anu embraced him, saying, my dear son, my eldest son. Then Anu traveled to Eridu, where he was received by Enlil, Alalu, and the other Atlanteans who received the royalty of Nibiru, now on Earth. Enlil received his father warmly and respectfully.
Go ahead.
So, illustration station. Yeah, so Planet X, I think, is also known as Nibiru. Yeah, I think it's the same. I've heard it used interchangeably. Planet X, also known as Nibiru. And that's what, like, recently they said they found Planet X, and a lot of people in the, like, underground sci-fi sort of communities that are into this kind of stuff in the coast-to-coast radio kind of mindset all were jumping up and down because Nibiru, once it comes back, is supposed to mean the Anunnaki are coming back and we're going to get all the answers and we're saved or we're doomed or don't know what exactly. So yeah, I think it's the same thing. And the bracelet, the shadow bracelet, is the asteroid belt that's between Earth and Mars.
Cool.
Alalu received Anu hesitantly, but as one receives a close friend. A dinner was served in honor to the king of Nibiru, who retired to the cabin prepared by Enki soon after. On the next day, Anu went to the Abzu to explore the area and check the gold. However, Anu was perplexed. Extracting the gold will not be easy, he said, but it must happen. Enki and Enlil will be in charge of building tools and making the extraction of gold possible. Thus, days and nights has passed, until in Eridu a meeting had taken place. Enki spoke.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't want to. I have one more thing to. And okay. Banana Ice is talking a lot of different things in the chat. What I'm understanding is the blondes are actually the Nordics, and they are tall. The Anunnaki are supposed to be like 7 to 14 or 15 feet tall. But I think you're kind of conflating a lot of different myths, and then of course the Hyperborea is where I believe the blue avians are supposedly one of their places. So
I'm not sure Banana Ice really is understanding this stuff, if I'm honest about it. I think he has some ideas, and I think those ideas are wrong.
Well, you definitely know a lot of things that are true in this, in this. I don't want to call it like a pseudoscience or pseudo history or whatever, but it's not all Anunnaki. So far, I've seen you covered about 3 or 4 different races in some of this, but I mean, all relatively valid, just not with the Anunnaki, as far as we understand it.
See,
Again,
you're so much nicer than me, Jennifer. I have to say.
nobody's wrong. It's
I'm
it's
just
like this is
you're
how we
wrong, and you
learn.
just need to be wrong, and you're like,
No.
no, well, maybe you got a few things right. Okay, fine.
Yeah, it was not wrong. It's just wrong about the race of people that he's talking about, and that's fine. This is how we learn. It's all good to me.
It was I who founded Eridu. However, other camps in the region need to be created. May the land be known as Eden, and may I have it under my command. Let Enlil take charge of extracting the gold. But Enlil was enraged. He said, "The plan is unfair. In commands and plans, I am the best, and for Earth's secrets, Enki stands out more. He discovered the Abzu. May Enki be the lord of the Abzu. May I be the lord of Eden." The brothers Enki and Enlil argued fervently. Anu listened carefully and reflected. Enki was the firstborn, but Enlil was his legitimate son with Anzu, the queen. Anu observed that discussions tended to have this beginning, but never an end. Besides, one must return to Nibiru. Eden and the Abzu need a commander. After pondering, Anu announced, "Luck will decide what will happen, and between the 3 of us, a decision will be made. Let the fate speaks for itself." Then the fate had been decided by luck. Anu would return to Nibiru to be the ruler. Enlil would be the lord of command in the Eden. Enki would become the lord of the Abzu. Thus Anu spoke, "Let Enlil enlarge the camps of the
There's
Eden
our first
and be
mention of
responsible
Eden.
for loading the
Yep.
gold into the ships and for commanding the Atlanteans until the lands meet the barriers of the waters. And may Enki, my
Yo.
firstborn, be the lord."
This is so true. This is making more sense than Ridley Scott and the whole origin story about aliens. What is the name of that movie?
Prometheus?
Prometheus. I've tried to watch Prometheus, like, I'm not kidding, like 5 or 6 times because I like the idea of it, and I like the first part of it, and then it gets into the world and it goes all awry, and I don't understand any of it. And I don't
He got
understand
lost
the guy.
in the sauce.
I don't understand the guy at the beginning, like getting drowned, like breaking, dissolving himself into the. I don't understand that either.
That
honestly.
is a more of a symbolic of, so if you think of the Anunnaki or whatever origin species comes to this fertile planet, sacrifices his own being to be broken down into his very atoms and DNA to combine with the life on the planet.
That's kind of like
so
what
it
I
could
thought it meant.
evolve.
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
It was a sacrifice, like a priesthood sacrifice to seed the planet with life as part of their experimentations. But yeah, I had to do a lot of like deep dive videos and shit and research to understand it all. That's what I was thinking, but it's like, was it though?
I swear I've watched that movie so many times. I was like, there's got to be something here I'm missing, and if I just watch it one more time, I'm gonna think it's an amazing, brilliant movie.
I'll get it.
It's like, but like, I don't want to have to watch like however many deep dive videos to figure out what the purpose of a movie is. It's like, bro, like this is a movie. Like,
that's my job. I'm such a nerd for that
like,
shit.
I'm not a dumb person, but like, I don't need to go into like an advanced master's level film study course to learn. Like, I just want to watch a movie.
Well, there's supposed to be a new series coming out with aliens on Earth. Not to get on a tangent, but I think where we got lost a little bit with Prometheus was that you went from this kind of beautiful, almost tragic origin moment of priestly sacrifice to alien vases that made snakes that ate your face and pregnancy and stuff. And then I heard someone say the goo in Prometheus was actually sperm or a form of sperma from the alien planet that was cultivated from them, and they were using it to create bioweapons, and it got away from them, and that's why she got pregnant. That's why, all of that. So I don't know, spoiler alert, but yeah, it's a fucking strange. I'm like, Ridley, baby, a little more like formulaic, please.
How many drugs did you do in the creation of this movie where this made sense to you? Because like, we're not there, bro. We're not there. We're all trying. We want you to be successful, but this ain't it.
Yeah.
Like, what is this? And Banana Ice, I gotta say, like, this is the weirdest fucking chat we've ever gotten on this show. I'm not gonna give you my sources because I don't know which side you're on. But with the alien issue, they are not. Bro, where the fuck do you think you are? Are you retarded? Like, I can't.
There's many alien influences here on this planet. I mean, I really do think that. I mean, maybe think I'm a little kooky, but that's okay. I don't mind. I think anybody who believes something is a little kooky. You have to be to
We're
put your
talking
faith in
about the
something.
fucking Anunnaki on a Tuesday night. Like, where do you think you are right now?
Yeah, there's tons. And then you had mentioned also, so not you, Carlin, but Banana here, something about the Semites and the Germans. Those are the reptilians. And also the, oh God, I almost had them. Hive mind. You guys know what I'm talking about. The ones that talk to the.
Wait, the Germans or the reptilians?
Vril. The Vril. Yeah, the reptilians and the Vril were between the Semites and the Germans. And there's tons of different. I think you've got pieces of several different mythos or alternate histories, but you're still you're trying to make it all make sense in the Anunnaki, and none of it does. The Anunnaki haven't been here for thousands of years.
Yeah, true.
Lord of this planet, and we will call it Earth after him. May he be known as the first to land, and let him rule the Abzu.
Am I a reptilian or an Anunnaki? Which alien race am I, Jennifer?
I would say you probably have Lemurian blood. Technically we all have Anunnaki DNA, and they proved all humans have an unknown source of DNA. We have that. What is it called? Is it ghost DNA? Is that what they nicknamed it? When they did our DNA, they figured out how to look at our DNA map. There's a whole section that they can't figure out where it comes from. It's not terrestrial.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
And I'm not making that up. That is science.
See, this is why I say the alien splicing us together issue always made more sense to me than anything else, honestly.
Yeah.
It just rings more true. It's okay, that I can, even though it sounds crazy, it's an ancient alien civilization came to Earth and ruled us and we were made to mine gold, but it's just it just makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Well, I think co-creation to jumpstart I think that's what helped our biodiversity, but also biodiversity. Also, we've been used as a deposit for several worlds to keep a library of their biodiversity. And then we have the Anunnaki coming in. We had a ton of shit happening. Earth is full of shit. We had tons of shit going on here. It's probably the most diverse planet, I think, that there is. And no, they did not bang monkeys. Keep it together, station. Keep it together, buddy.
What alien race are you, Jennifer?
I am definitely descended from Anunnaki, Lemuria. But over the time of remember reincarnation. I've done time in Atlantis. I did a lot of in Lemuria, a lot of over the various other places, historical. So of us all, honestly. But I think that people who tend towards the more sheep-like mentality, the DNA is more towards the second slave race versus the Lemurian slave race. Not the slaves, but the Lemurian.
So we were the uppity ones. We were the first group. We were the uppity ones that they didn't quite get right, and then they made everyone else more docile.
Yeah. Now I don't know if they're going to cover that in this. I almost called it a documentary. This whatever it is. I don't know if they're going to say that here. That was something I saw elsewhere, and I've seen it in a couple other places where they had two races that they created. So we'll see if they do that here, but. I mean, it makes sense that there are some more independent thinkers, people just naturally kind of out that way, and others that are more just follow along and just make everybody nice. And I think that's where you get the libertarian versus communist kind of mindsets that we all seem to have.
It's there are times I talk to people that are just I feel like I have nothing in common with those people. You know what I'm saying? I really do feel like they're an entirely different being than me, and I do not understand them at all, and I do not understand their mindset, and I do not understand how they think, and I do not understand how they can be presented with something that's obviously and clearly wrong, and they're just okay, well, I need to make everyone happy, and I'm gonna smile and agree to this even though I don't. I don't get them at all.
Or they look at you like you're the asshole.
Yeah.
And you're I just want you to be happy. Well, none of us can be happy if we're all dead because you killed my grandma because you didn't get vaccinated or whatever. Then it's what the fuck? Yeah, I think in terms of spirit evolution, that's a whole nother subject. But physically, I definitely have Lemurian stuff going on for sure.
Fascinating.
Enlil in its turn said, Enki, Lord of Earth, this shall be your title, and I, Enlil, will be known as Lord of Command. And then the decision was announced to the other Atlanteans in assembly. Anu confidently said, I will return to Nibiru with an easy heart. Success is on the way. But then Alalu stood before them all. An important matter has been forgotten, he shouted. The dominion of Earth had been promised to me. This is what was said when I announced my arrival and the discovery of gold. Furthermore, I have not renounced my claims to the throne of Nibiru. It is an abomination that you should share everything with your children. You owe me a fight for the throne of Nibiru. Anu, enraged, said, Let us fight, then, for the throne of Nibiru. Let's not wait any longer. This fight must take place.
Another gay
Now.
naked fight.
What was seen was an unprecedented battle. The two members of nobility of Nibiru had arrived on a new world, but they carried with them the ferocity of wild animals. The two 10-foot-tall men fought and rumbled the grounds under them. Anu easily grappling him and knocking Alalu to the ground. Alalu had lost the fight once more, fell to the floor. Anu had laid his feet on his chest. I win, Alalu.
You know what, though?
You are defeated. But with
This is the way to do it. Screw elections. Let them fight for it.
You know, Donald Trump probably would have kicked Kamala Harris's ass. That's
Just not the naked kind of fight. I think that might be a little
yeah,
too
can
far.
we not have a naked wrestling match between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris? That'd be great.
Definitely wrestle. Like, I would have loved to see him and Joe Biden go after it. Oh my God.
Trump would
That'd
have
been
kicked
amazing.
Biden's ass too.
And Hillary Clinton. Oh man, come on. Fight. That's what we need to do.
It'd probably be a slightly more functional society if it actually worked that way, Jennifer. And I'm not even exaggerating when I say that.
Make these assholes earn it. A little blood on the floor.
Yeah. And then see how much credibility they have when we've all seen them naked in their gay wrestling match.
Right? Exactly.
Like no one will ever take them seriously. And that's as it should be.
Well,
It's kinda
Putin
like-
is
it's kinda
halfway
like
there
when-
with his naked picture, his bare-chested pictures on horseback. Like he's already
Yeah.
fretting that shit.
It's kind of like I don't know, maybe this is just me, but like when you have sex with someone, like it changes the nature of your relationship in
Yeah.
many ways. It's like you can like call them like on their bullshit a little bit more, I think, than you might be able to like otherwise. And I feel
Well,
like
if
it's
you go
the
on
same
a second date, yeah.
well,
yeah.
yeah, but you know what I'm saying? It's like you get a little bit more like relaxed with the person, right? Because as you probably should if it's good sex, right? But like it's the same thing with seeing someone naked. It's like you almost like it's no longer a professional relationship. It's no longer like a leadership relationship. It's kind of like, bro, I've seen your cock, okay? Like,
Find some good cock.
can we settle down?
Can
Like,
we be real? Yeah.
Sarcasm, Alalu smiled, and as swiftly as a wild animal he imposed his strength on Anu, pulling him by the legs. Then he bit into Anu's private parts and swallowed. Anu fell to the
What?
ground stunned.
bit
Enki
off-
rushed
wait,
to Anu's
what?
rescue.
what? He bit off his dick?
Where's the referee?
He bit off
Where's the
his dick.
That's what it sounds like.
I genuinely didn't see that coming, Jennifer. I have to say, that was a surprise. Did you watch that far?
I have seen this one and into the next episode. There's like 2 or 3 episodes of this, and I've seen. I forgot about that, and I remember I had to stop it because I right like you did. I went, wait, no, what? And I had to go back
He
and
bit off his dick.
yeah, but give it another minute or 2, and then pause it again.
Hang on.
See
We're
what
just
happens.
we're gonna rewind and listen to the part where he bit off his dick again.
It's private parts. They don't have an Anunnaki word for cock, I guess.
I guess not.
Alalu smiled, and as swiftly as a wild animal he imposed his strength on Anu, pulling him by the legs. Then he bit into Anu's private parts and swallowed.
And
Anu
swallowed.
fell to the ground stunned. Enki rushed to Anu's rescue. Enlil arrested the offender. Let justice be done, said Enlil in a rage, a cowardice maneuver. No, interrupted Enki. Justice has already been done. The poison is inside him. He swallowed it himself. Alalu was imprisoned long enough for
What?
the law to be fulfilled.
Okay, so this is
Anu
why I'm a
recovered
little
and
confused.
called
What
the meeting
happened when he bit
So-
off his dick and swallowed it? He swallowed poison.
Apparently, Anu poisoned himself. I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay, so this is the only thing that makes sense in my brain. Anu poisoned himself. So when Alalu, I don't know how he thought Analu, or what the fuck is it, Alalu was gonna actually eat part of him. Like, who would think that? But apparently there was poison. And so now he's got poisoned flesh in his belly. I have a feeling something has been lost in translation.
So not only did he literally eat a dick, it was the dick that he ate that killed him.
Choke on it.
He literally choked on the dick that he ate willingly in a gay naked wrestling match to win control of a planet.
I can't, dude. I don't even know. Yeah, the next few
You
sentences.
know what?
don't
They're
make
not
a lot of
more.
sense.
They're not more fucking evolved than we are. I'm sorry. They're not. They're not more evolved.
Even we wouldn't bite up. I mean, okay, so what's his name bit someone's ear off, but that's hardly comparable.
Yeah, I mean the moral of the story here is don't be gay, even if it's in a wrestling match to win control of a planet in space.
Don't be space gay. The poisoned pecker of
Wow.
Anu. Yeah, it got a little weird there. I'm not sure. I think, like I said, I think something got a little lost in translation.
You know what? We're all here for this moment. This might be the most interesting thing I broadcasted on my channel in like 6 months.
Well, and we have their DNA in us, so what does that make us? I mean, like, no wonder we're so fucked up.
It's true. It's true. Imagine the strength it takes to bite off someone's cock. And John, these are not human-sized people. They're like 10 feet tall.
They're big.
Imagine the size of it.
Ugh. But it would be comparable. I mean, everything kind of, scales.
I don't want to think about it. Let's move on.
Okay.
The 7 who judge. Anu took the highest place, presiding over the occasion. On his right side sat Enki, Anzu, and Nungal. On his left sat Enlil, Abgal, and Alalgar. Enlil took the word by justice, and at Alalu's bidding a new fight was made, and Alalu lost. What do you have to say? Questioned Enki. The fight took place for justice, and I have lost the royalty. Enlil interrupted Alalu, saying, and having lost he committed an abominable crime. Death is the punishment. What do you have to say? Asked Enki once more. Alalu was silent, and then, slowly and quietly, he spoke. On Nibiru I was rightful king, and Anu was my cupbearer. I reigned for 9 Shahs until Anu himself sat on my throne. We vied for royalty in one combat, and fearing for my life, I departed from Nibiru and found a new world. Here I have found the gold of salvation, and my return to Nibiru in kingship had been promised. Next came Enki to earth, and by appointment he was appointed next to reign on Nibiru. Next came Enlil, claiming Anu's succession for himself, and then came Anu himself. Luck decided and deceived Enki, who has been proclaimed the Lord of Earth, not Nibiru's. And then Enlil declared the command of Earth and cast Enki into the distant Abzu. My heart aches and burns in agony. And then he himself imposed his feet on my chest in victory. Anu spoke, I beat you in a fair fight, and you swallowed my manhood to interrupt my bloodline. Enlil spoke, the accused admitted the crime. May death be your sentence. To death said Alalgar. Death said Abgal. Death said Nungal. Enki spoke, death will come of itself. Alalu swallowed Anu's entrails. Anzu, for his part, said, let Alalu be bound in
Now he
earth till
says
the end of his
entrails.
days.
Make up your mind.
The king of
Exactly.
Nibiru reflected. And then he said, die in exile. Alalu must die in exile. Everyone looked at each other. Anu explained, when I return to Nibiru, Alalu shall come with me in my ship. But he will not go to Nibiru. We will circle around Lamu, known as Mars, where there is water and breathable atmosphere. Alalu shall count to the end of his days in Mars' solitude, and for a safety landing, a small celestial ship can be used. The decision was unanimous. Anu proceeded. Nungal shall pilot the great ship. I will remain on Nibiru, and Nungal will return with other Atlanteans from Nibiru to Earth to work in gold mining. Anzu will be with us to descend the small ship with Alalu on board. And so it was done. Anu took leave of his sons and the rest of the Anunnaki Atlanteans. And then the royalty of Nibiru took flight from planet Earth. Approaching Mars, Alalu was sent into exile, and in the vicinity of the Red Planet, Anzu said to Anu, I will not return with the small celestial ship. I will land with Alalu on Mars, and I will stay with him. When he dies from the poison in his entrails, I will bury him as a king deserves.
Oh, Alalu's entrail.
And as for me, I've already made my name. Others will say about my name that I was the companion of a king in exile. I have seen and will see things that others will not have seen on a strange planet, facing things unknown. My name will be remembered as a hero. Alalu was in tears. Anu was amazed. And then he uttered, I lift my hand upon you, O Anzu, and I swear this oath to thee. On the next journey, a ship will circle Mars and land before your presence. If I find you alive, you will be proclaimed the Lord of Mars. And when a station is established in Mars, you will be the commander. Anzu nodded in thanks and agreement, and the preparations for the installation in the small ship began. They were provided with supplies and space garments with eagle-like helmets. Then the ship left towards Lamu, disappearing on the horizon. For 9 Shahs, Alalu was the king of Nibiru. For 8 Shahs, he commanded Eridu on Earth. And on the 9th Shah, he overcame fortune and met death on Mars. On Earth, a long discussion took place until the next steps were
It took him a long time to digest
Enki
that
asked
dick.
Alalgar to oversee
Well,
Eridu.
no, I was thinking the same thing. Like, how long does this actually take? But then again, if they live 500,000 years, it's like their entire system would be slower, I would think.
Yeah, but 9 Shars is 3,000 years a Shar. 3 times 9 is what? 7 is like 27.
Crazy. That can't be right. Like,
Like I said, I think something got lost in translation, and I owe my buddy Mac B something. I owe him I need an adult. I need an adult.
Man.
And he went to the Abzu, where he designed technological equipment to pierce the bowels of the earth. He sent the plans to Nibiru for the engineers to build. Enlil, in Eden, surveyed the activities and numbered the mountains, valleys, rivers, and plains. Enlil then took delight in the snow-capped mountains of the north of the Eden, and then he began to prepare a platform for the celestial ships he wished for himself. Meanwhile, the royal ship traversed space towards Nibiru. Anu was received with feasting, and he gave instructions to everyone. Intermediate stations needs to be created. The first on Mars and the second on the Earth's moon should be considered. He organized new studies of all the planets and predicted a caravan of celestial ships from Nibiru to Earth, and from Earth to Nibiru tracing different routes. He created a new class of spaceships and selected new Atlanteans known as Igigi, who were to learn and train for the mission. He transmitted the plans to Enki and Enlil on Earth and received the blueprints to build the equipment for the team of engineers from Enki. Then, a new mission left Nibiru for Earth.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Go ahead, sorry.
The Nagigi that they mention, or the Igigi, Igigi. They mentioned that them a little earlier. They were titans to the Anunnaki. So imagine how big these bastards were. The Anunnaki range from 9 to 14 feet or something like that. The Igigi are titans to them, so they're huge.
That's crazy.
But they are a workforce too. Yeah, I think they spelled it IGEE. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, Igigi.
Do you ever see that giant foot they found on Earth? Do you know what I'm talking about?
The sculpture or an actual foot?
No, an actual like indentation of like a foot.
Yeah. I've seen those, and I've seen some of the larger skeletons. But what's really compelling too is the the graves that they have huge cairns built for a giant race that used to live here. But yeah, I have seen that. I love that kind of shit. I wish it wasn't considered occult science, because it really, why can't we just speak openly about our history?
Yeah.
Probably because it would anger the draconian overlords.
Yeah, well, that's probably true. They want everyone to think it's fake.
Yeah.
Better for them.
50 heroes, and this time it carried chosen women of Nibiru. Ninharsag, the exalted princess, half-sister of Enki and Enlil, also daughter of Anu, was a part of the new crew to the earth. Ninharsag was skilled in the arts of medicine and knew how to care for illness. Ninharsag had heard of the vertigo caused by the sun and the Earth's rotational cycle that was hurting much of the Atlantean heroes. For that reason, she prepared a cure. The mission from Nibiru encircled Mars as promised by Anu. Upon approaching the land, they found Anzu near a river, lifeless. That's when Ninharsag pushed everyone else aside and began to act. She took the pulsator device out of her bag and pointed it at Anzu's heart. Then she took the emitter out of the bag and directed the life-giving emissions of its crystals to Anzu's body. 60 times Ninharsag directed the pulsator and emitter towards Anzu, and the 60th time Anzu opened his eyes and moved his lips. Ninharsag poured the water
Brought
of
him back
life
from the
over
dead.
him and moistened his lips with
She
it.
resurrected him.
Then she placed the food of life
He was
in his
only
mouth.
mostly dead.
And so,
exactly.
the miracle occurred. Anzu rose from the dead. Recovering from unconsciousness, he told of Alalu's last moments and how he prepared his funeral and covered the mountain that rose from the plain with stones. Then the Atlanteans carved the face of Alalu upon the rocky mountain and left the face uncovered on Mars. Ninharsag said, "Let Alalu's face eternally behold the land where he found gold. And as for you, Anzu, King Anu, my father, commanded the promise for you to be fulfilled. 20 men will accompany you here on Mars, and a way station must be built. Spaceships will leave Earth and arrive here loaded with gold. The gold stored here will be collected by celestial ships that will carry the gold to Nibiru. Anzu, you are now deemed the commander of Mars. My life belongs to you, O Ninharsag, the great lady, said Anzu. My gratitude to Anu knows no bounds." And then the celestial ship that carried Ninharsag and other Atlanteans departed from Mars and towards Earth. So Anzu and other Atlanteans remained on Mars with the intention of creating an intermediary way station. Meanwhile, the gigantic ship was heading towards Earth, observing the moon and analyzing the possibility of another way station there. Nungal led the ship to the ditch in the waters closest to Eridu, where they disembarked on a pier built by Enlil. Vessels were no longer needed. Enki and Enlil welcomed their sister Ninharsag. She told them all the news. What happened on Nibiru and the death of Alalu, the survival of Anzu on Mars, and the construction of the way station. Enki expressed his approval, and Enlil was perplexed. Ninharsag said, "Our father Anu's decisions are unalterable. It's his word." And another news. I brought relief from the sprouted illness. I brought the seeds of healing. From her pouch, Ninharsag drew the seeds. They would be planted, and after their growth a juice could be made. Our people must drink this juice, and then all diseases will go away, said Ninharsag. But these seeds must be sown in a warm and cool place. They need heat and water to feed. Come to the ship, Enlil said to Ninharsag. I know the perfect spot for it. Thus, the sister and brother entered the ship towards the snow-covered mountains next to the cedar forest. Enlil and Ninharsag talked and exchanged love and affection. Ninharsag told Enlil about their son Ninurta, explaining that the prince was ready to join them on Earth. Enlil, father of Ninurta, was the son of Antu, the lawful wife of Anu. He was the legal heir, the successor of Anu. Ninharsag was the half-sister of Enlil, mother of Ninurta, and the first daughter of Anu. Extremely beautiful and full of wisdom, Ninharsag was skillful and quick to learn. The two, Enlil and Ninharsag, caressed each other, but Enlil did not pour his life-giving fluid into Ninhursag's womb.
Life-giving fluid.
And then they headed back to Eridu. On the way, Enlil showed the land.
Have you ever in your book said life-giving fluid?
Not in any of my books, no.
Can you please use that
No.
at some point? Come on!
That is a pregnancy fetish, and you can take that away. No, thank you. Not doing it. Life-giving fluid. Do you know there have been? I'm not going to go into it, but there are some pretty interesting descriptors that I have read in other works. But life-giving fluid is actually very mild. You know,
life-giving fluid. What are some of the other descriptors?
Baby batter. Trying to think, there was one that was oh god, it was like man, so god, it was so nasty. I man something. I don't essence. His essence.
His essence. That's the
Yeah.
very southern way to say it, isn't it?
His
His essence.
You watch your essence. You make all these socks sticky. You keep playing with your essence like that. Never mind. Guys will get that. Forget it.
Landscape and presented the Eden in all its extension. And from this, Enlil explained his whole plan. Far from Eridu, where the dry land begins, will be my abode. Larsa will be its name. It will be the place of my command. It will be located on the banks of the Branu, the river of deep waters. A city will arise in the future, and its name will be Lagash. Between the two, in the plans, I drew a line, and near will be a city which be called Shurubak, the city of refuge. This will be your city, my dear sister. It will stand on the central line and lead to the fourth city, Nibiru. Nibiru will be the crossing point, the heaven-earth link. It will be home for the tablets of destinies and will control all our conquests. With Eridu, there will be 5 cities that will exist forever. And then Enlil demonstrated a crystal tablet with several markings and explained that in the future there will be a place for the ship to arrive from Nibiru to Earth. Ninhursag was surprised at the complexity of it all. In this way, she understood Enlil's disagreement with Anu's plan and the creation of an intermediary station on Mars. "It is a magnificent plan," said Ninhursag. She was visibly emotional. Enlil's plan contemplated the creation of a city for her. It would be the healing city, a healing station. But, warned Ninhursag, do not transgress your father beyond this plan. Don't offend your brother Enki either. You are as wise as beautiful, Enlil said. Meanwhile, in the Abzu, Enki also conceived plans. The plans of Enki and Enlil were very different. Enki thought where he could build dwellings for the Atlanteans, and to build his own home, where he could enter the bowels of the earth. From his celestial ship, he measured the entire length of the Abzu and carefully surveyed all regions. The Abzu was a land far away and beyond the waters of the Eden, a rich and perfect land. There were rivers that crossed the region with enormous flow of water. Enki built his abode besides running pure waters, in the midst of the Abzu. In this land, Enki determined the place of the deep so that the Atlanteans could access the bowels and core of the earth. Thus, through interior tunnels, they could discover the golden veins. He installed the equipment to crush the extracted gold. Then, they would be transported in celestial ships and taken to the landing place in the Cedar Mountains. And from their spacer ships, they would transport the gold to the way station on Mars. And so, several extraterrestrials arrived on the planet. Some went to the Eden under Lord Enlil's responsibility, others to the Abzu with Lord Enki, and others were directed to Shurubak with Princess Ninhursag. On Nibiru, the heaven-earth link, Enlil grouped and commanded all missions there from the heavens in the sky. Enki traveled between Eridu and the Abzu constantly, overseeing all activities. At the Mars, construction and much was progressing, and the way station received large numbers of working-class Atlantean giants. 2 shahs passed until, on the 7th day, Anu gave an order and decree in an official announcement. On Earth, that was the 7th day, a day of rest decreed by Enki in the beginning. 600 gathered to follow Anu's announcement. Enki with his advisor Isimud, and Nungal the pilot. Alagar, the lord of Eridu, and Abgal, who commanded the landing place. In the Aden, Enlil watched the transmission with Ninharsag and the maidens of her host who also accompanied her. On Mars, together with Anzu, diverse workmen gathered, and then Anu spoke. Greetings all. You are heroes, the true saviors of Nibiru. The fate of the entire planet is in your hands. Your deeds will be remembered for all eternity, and your names will be glorified. From now on, those on Earth will be called the Anunnaki, meaning those who from heaven to earth came. And for those who are on Mars shall be called Igigi, those who observe and see
There it
they
is.
shall be.
Iggy.
Everything
The
needed
Watchers.
is now ready. Let the gold begin to arrive, and let Nibiru be saved. But Anu, in the distance on Nibiru, could not foresee the approaching of confusion that would come. Starting with the dilemma of his own children. It all started long before the arrival of the Anunnaki on Earth. Enki was the eldest son of Anu, but he was not, however, the legitimate heir, as he was the son of a concubine. Ninharsag, the eldest daughter, had been chosen by Anu to marry her older brother Enki, his eldest son. Thus, the firstborn of the two would have double seed and be the legal successor. However, Ninharsag was in love with the other half-brother, Enlil. And so Enlil left his seed in Ninharsag's
So many hot
womb,
brothers.
and
I mean, what's
Ninurta,
Seriously?
the prince who might soon be on Earth, son of Enlil and Ninharsag, was born. Enraged at that time, and still on Nibiru, Anu had forbidden Ninharsag of marriage to anyone no matter who. Then Enki married a princess, the daughter of Alalu, the beautiful Damkina. Enki and Damkina also had a son who was called Marduk, and it meant one born in a pure place. Thus Enki, Anu's eldest son, had a son by marriage, Marduk, and Enlil, Anu's rightful heir, had a son, Ninurta, but not by marriage. Enlil's story in this respect had been developed on Earth, not Nibiru's. Enlil had fallen in love with Sud, who was one of Ninharsag's maidens while she was bathing in a cold mountain. Enlil took Sud to his abode in the cedar grove and offered her the elixir of the fruit of Nibiru that grew on Earth. The two drank, and Enlil made his intentions clear. However, Sud told him about her virginity and that her lips had never kissed anyone. But he laughed and kissed her, depositing the seed of life in her womb. Ninharsag, deeming the action
That
as
was
immoral,
quick.
and denounced Enlil for judgment
like,
before
I'm
the
a
seven who
virgin. He's
judge.
like, good.
Enlil's sentence was exile to a land of
go.
no return,
Yep.
far from all cities. Abgal was Enlil's pilot, who took him to a distant land amid inhospitable mountains. And descending the ship to the ground, Abgal said, "Enlil, I did not choose this place by chance. In a cave near here, Enki hid the weapons of terror that were in Alalu's ship. Take possession of the weapons, and you will get freedom again." That said, Abgal departed and Enlil was left alone in that place. In the Eden, Sud spoke with her commander Ninharsag. She told her that she was pregnant, and in her womb Enlil's son had been conceived. Ninharsag conveyed the news to Enki, the Lord of Earth, whom at that moment and time was supreme on Earth. Enki decided to summon the seven who judge, and at the judgment Sud was questioned to the possibility of accepting Enlil as her husband. And having accepted, Enlil returned from exile to marry Sud, who was now called Ninlil, the Lady of the Mandate. After this, a son was born to Enlil and Ninlil. His name was Nanar, the Bright One. And it was said that Nanar was the first child of two Anunnaki Atlanteans of Nibiru conceived on Earth. It was a royal seed from Nibiru conceived on Earth. As soon as Nanar, son of Enlil and Ninlil, was born, Enki decided to talk with Ninharsag. He had built his house in the Abzu and had adorned his dwelling with a bright metal taken from the depths, which he called silver. He also used lapis lazuli. Then he
That had to be
invited
so
his
pretty.
half-sister to go with
Yep.
him to the Abzu and abandon her worship for Enlil. In the Abzu, Enki reminded Ninharsag about their engagement and their love. They kissed each other and Enki asked Ninharsag to give him a son. And from their union, a daughter was born.
Whoops.
Enki was disappointed. Ninharsag encouraged him to know his daughter. But Enki said, "I will have a son with you, my sister." And so, another relationship they had, and another daughter was born. Enki shouted, "A son! I need a boy." Enraged, Ninhursag pronounced a curse on Enki. "May all food be poison in your viscera, that his jaw hurts, and that his teeth and his ribs hurt."
Yeah.
Enki's advisor, Isimud, summoned the Anunnaki.
I'd really like to have a son. May all your food be poisoned. That's like some feminist shit right there.
I know, right? Apparently she was not manipulating her womb well enough. One would think they, with all this, like, the accidental daughter and the thing they were just, or the son they were just talking about with Enlil and the virgin. Like,
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised they don't have any birth control. It's like everybody's just getting seed deposited and preggers, and I kind of feel like it's kind of gross. Anunnaki are gross, man. They're gross. Like, take some responsibility. You guard your shit, I guess. But if you live for 500,000 years, you kind of don't care as much, or you lose
Probably have some
interest in your
perspective.
wife, or
Something like that.
oh my god.
to beseech Ninhursag for relief from the curse. And Enki swore to distance himself from Ninhursag's private parts, who immediately, one by one, removed all disease from Enki's body.
I am using that next time I'm mad at my husband. I am distancing myself from your private
I
part.
am distancing myself from your private.
That's
That
kind of
was
a classy way
great.
of saying you're in the doghouse.
That was great.
Also, your food will be poisoned.
Yes.
Ninhursag thus returned to Eden to never marry no one, as was the bidding of Anu, her father. Enki, in turn, brought his son Marduk and his wife Damkina to earth. Enki had 5 more children by his wife Damkina, and also by concubines. Thus were born Nergal, Gibil, Ninagal, Ningishzida, and Dumuzi, his youngest son. On the other side of Anu's generation, Enlil and Ninhursag brought their son Ninurta to earth. Besides this, Enlil had another son by his wife Ninlil. Ishkur was his name. On this way, 2 clans settled on earth. Later, the clans of Enki and Enlil would go to war, which would be known as the War of the Gods. In the Abzu, gold was extracted from the golden veins of the earth. The golden metal was conducted to the landing place. From there, the Igigi transported the gold in spaceships to the intermediary way station on Mars. And from Mars, the precious metal was delivered to Nibiru in celestial ships. On Nibiru, the gold was ground to the finest powder and thrown onto the atmosphere for the protection of the planet. Slowly and step by step, Earth's gold healed Nibiru's wounds, holes and cracks. Enki built a dazzling abode in Eridu, and from the earth he raised it to heaven like a mountain, took to live with him Damkina and Marduk. Enki proceeded to teach Marduk various things. On Nibiru, Enlil established the link between heaven and earth, with a construction equally dazzling. Their words were heard on Mars and on Nibiru. The rays that came from there could seek the heart of all lands. His eyes explored all the lands, and it was impossible for an approach that could not be seen from his black satellite, an all-seeing eye. From the top of the chamber, Enlil studied everything and watched everyone and everything. He studied the secrets of the sun and the moon and recorded them in secret formulas. He improved the celestial zenith and fixed the 12 houses, and with the 12 emblems he marked the family of the sun. The tablets of destinies gleamed in their royal abode, while the class of workers worked very hard. The earth's cycles left them astonished, and the portions of the healing elixir were given to them in small quantities. In Eden, the Anunnaki were weary. In the Abzu, the work was strenuous. The Igigi on Mars complained constantly. And by Anu's command, Anzu, the commander of Mars, was received on Earth. Enki and Enlil might reveal to him the Abzu and the secrets of the heaven-earth link on Nibiru Ki. Anzu defended the Igigi of Mars, who asked for a rest on Earth whenever spaceships went back and forth between Earth and Mars. Received in Enlil's chamber, Anzu intended to steal the tablets of destiny. He was a prince among princes and had promised relief to the Igigi. Enlil left the shrine and Anzu remained at the entrance without suspicion. Then Anzu seized the tablets of destinies and departed from the celestial chamber towards the landing place, where the Igigi had gathered, awaiting his return to declare Anzu the king of the earth and Mars. And from the top of the chamber, Enlil, perceiving the theft and afflicted with treachery, he spoke angry words to Enki, questioning about Anzu on Nibiru. Key. The Anunnaki seek the words of Anu. The order was to stop Anzu and retrieve the tablets of destiny. But Anzu, in possession of the tablets, was invincible. Despite this, Ninurta stood ready to fight and recover what was rightfully his father.
Go ahead.
The tablets of destiny, if I'm not mistaken, are kind of like their most sacred documents, their most sacred historical kind of documents. And so it's like someone taking, the Bible or whatever. It's the most important thing for them, but it also, I believe, is supposed to follow the leadership of them. So it's supposed to go from, like the king to the prince, and so forth, and follow that. And you're not supposed to have them if you are not in a rulership position. So I believe that was like a big no-no to take them, to abscond without permission.
Well, why wouldn't they just create more tablets, though?
This isn't about the tablets. It's just saying that this happened to be one of the things that caused another fucking problem.
Like they broke there was a rift. There was a fight over it. It's not really about the tablets. It's about people are pissed off at each other.
People are mad because this sacred thing had been taken wrongfully or should not have been. Yeah. But that'd be the tablets of destiny. There's another whole nother.
And there was probably something else going on that we don't know about that they just chose to blame the tablets of destiny because they were pissed off about something else. And they're like, I'm really going to stick it to you now, asshole.
Yeah. I want to say they contained it. Remember in the beginning, they talked about Tiamat.
Yeah.
And how she's the draconian queen. She had a son and she made all this gold for her son. And that's supposed to be on Ki, which is Earth. And that's how they know to go to Earth, because there should be gold because of Tiamat. I believe the tablets describe all that kind of stuff, the history and the galactic battles that happened before. But also there's probably prophecies, because they are called of destiny. So I'm imagining there's prophecies and shit in there also that need to be kept sacred so that they can watch out for the signs and all that kind of thing. There's somebody here saying that their original myths from Mesopotamia.
We're attracting all the Anunnaki people now, Jennifer. This is great.
I know. This is pre-Mesopotamian though. So if they were rewritten and kept in Mesopotamia, maybe that's where I'm kind of thinking. I know I've heard of them before. Maybe that's what it is. But yeah, so.
Javelins were hurled at Anzu, but they missed. Arrows were launched, but they also missed him. So a mighty weapon was prepared, a Tilu missile. The instruction was to approach, and when they were united, Ninurta and Anzu wing to wing, the missile would be launched, creating a whirlwind and a storm of dust. And then, like a ball of fire, Anzu fell. The earth shook, the heavens shook. Ninurta took the tablets of destiny and made Anzu his prisoner. Quickly, Ninurta was applauded at the landing place, and the Anunnaki who had been taken prisoner had been freed. And before the judges, Anzu was sentenced to death. Then the fluid of life of Anzu had extinguished. Ninurta said, "Leave your body to the vultures." And Enki answered, "Lead Anzu's body to Mars, that it may be buried beside Alalu. The same ancestral seed they both possess. Let Marduk, my son, conduct Anzu's corpse and let him abide
Hang on a
there,
second.
that he may
Tron
become
Wick
Mars'
just made
new
a really
commander."
based point.
Go ahead.
Tron Wick just made a very based point. Yeah, so they also had lost knowledge of their own society, and only a few privileged were able to know the whole secrets. And yet, it continues. The tradition continues.
The peons are not allowed to know anything about what's going on. It's only the approved.
Yep, this is why I love the internet so much. Well, and I thankful for people like Art Bell and George Norrie, and then the Ancient Alien Crew, and now all this shit is mainstream, and now we all get to look crazy, and it's fantastic.
I mean, I feel like when people actually sit down and watch this stuff, I feel like most people kind of are like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. And maybe there's some weird stuff that maybe we don't know everything, and that's kind of like not really true, but like most of this makes sense.
It could happen, why not? It's no crazier than God impregnating a virgin and saying it's a piece of him, but there's only one of him, and yet he's in two places at once. I mean, how much more crazy is Christianity than thinking the Anunnaki made? I mean, honestly, there's no.
I don't think it's more crazy.
It's all very, when you break it down to its essential elements, it all sounds a little weird.
Well, this is like what I've always said. It's like when people give me shit about my beliefs, I'm like, I believe weird stuff. Yeah, so do you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really, no matter what belief system you are, so do you.
The only difference between the Roman Church and paganism is pagans didn't figure out a way to capitalize it, make loads of money off of their beliefs.
Yeah, for real.
Oh wait, no, except for the crystals, the athames, the tarot cards. Never mind. We just don't have a centralized.
Pagans aren't celibate either.
Oh God, no.
Meanwhile, on Earth, Enki and Enlil discussed changes to avoid confusion. Ninota, who was an expert in the interiorities of planets, suggested a new city of metal for new shipments to be made. Thus, those who were weary could return to Nibiru and new Anunnaki could come to Earth in their place. In this way, in the Eden, new construction began, and it took 3 Shahs until the city of Bad Tibira be created. Ninota, who had given the suggestion, was the first commander. In this way, the flow of gold to Nibiru was easier and faster. Those who were on Earth and Mars, many of them returned to Nibiru. Alalga, Abgal and Nungal were among them. Received as heroes, the inhabitants of the planet Nibiru, especially the younger ones, wanted to participate in the missions and mainly wanted the emotions.
Check it out. Antichrist.
The first 60 seconds, dude, we're like 3 hours deep into this.
When the fuck did you just show up?
I don't know if he's talking about us or the show or what. What are you talking about, dude? Have fun,
bro. There's a lot of other content on the internet. Go somewhere else. It's not. This isn't like rocket science. Get the fuck out.
Did not know what great calamities there were on Earth, on Mars, and in the heavens. In Bad Tibira, gold was smelted and refined, and then sent to Mars in spaceships. Pure gold was carried from Lahmu to Mars in celestial ships. And as Ninota had conceived, gold flowed from Abzu to Nibiru. However, what was not noticed was the malaise of the newly arrived Anunnaki. Enki turned his attention to other matters in the Abzu and could not see what was happening. So Enki created a new complex called the House of Life and invited his son Ningish Zida, who is known in the Egyptian pantheon as Thoth, to work with him. Enki was especially curious of some living creatures that lived among the tall trees and used their front paws as hands. It was in the tall grasses of the steppes that strange creatures could be seen that seemed to walk upright. The secrets of life and death were carefully studied by Enki. The House of Life was in the Abzu, and it had all manner of carefully crafted tools and equipment. Enki was absolutely enchanted and absorbed, fully occupied with his studies. And Ninota in Bad Tibira was the first to notice a decrease in gold mining. Enlil sent Ninota to the Abzu to find out what was happening. Enugi, the chief officer, accompanied him on the excavations. He had heard the complaints of the Anunnaki Igigi with his own ears and had told Ninota of all he'd heard. The work here is unbearable. Ninota told the matter to Enki, who quickly called for Enlil. The Lord of Command, Enlil, arrived at the Abzu and settled in an abode near the excavations. That's when a group of Anunnaki workers attacked Enugi, the chief officer of mines. They set fire on their tools and then approached Enlil's abode and home in protest in the middle of the late night in Adam's calendar modern-day South Africa. Kalkal, the gatekeeper, barred the door and summoned.
I already warned you once not to do this shit. I warned you over 2 hours ago not to do this shit. Now you've come back to continue to run your mouth. This is not acceptable. If you do this again, I will ban you. I have never seen you in any of my socialist live streams. I don't think you're a supporter of my work. So don't come on here afterwards having a really nice night. I'm sorry I'm taking a moment to tell this person off, but I am Jennifer. Don't come on here after we've been streaming for 2.5 fucking hours about a topic we enjoy to have a fucking break from all this shit when you don't even come to my streams in the first place, and therefore do not tell me that you care more about the commies coming than I do. You do that shit again, you're going to get permanently banned, and I will never worry about you again.
This isn't about them coming either. This is like they were already here.
This is already here.
Yeah, it's already happened. This isn't a warning. We're looking at history. I mean, history. We don't know. We're just having some fun, man.
I was streaming socialism for 3 hours earlier today. For 3 fucking hours. Where the fuck were you?
Brain break. We need a brain break.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Enlil's advisor. Nusku called out to the Lord of Command from his bed and said, "My lord, we are surrounded. The Anunnaki workers are here. They protest against the heavy work. Enki and Ninurta were summoned on prompter device." "What is happening?" asked Enlil, waking up from deep sleep. "Who instigated this hostility?" Enlil asked the rebellion. In unison was answered, "We have all of us." Enlil relayed the events to Anu over holographic communication as well, and who quickly replied, "We need the gold. The work cannot stop." Enki pondered. "The work is too heavy, we all know it. The rebellion is not against Enlil, it is against the work." Enugi, the chief mines officer, was freed and consulted. He said, "Since the heat on Earth increased, work is unbearable, intolerable." Ninurta said, "Let the rebels return to Nibiru, and may other Anunnaki come in their place."
Okay,
Enlil
so
asked
hang on to
Enki,
that.
"Is it possible?"
Hang on to that.
The heat, he started talking about the heat on Earth. So remember, Nibiru is way the fuck out, right? We talked about this, way past Pluto. So they're constantly in probably a twilight sort of light on the planet. Okay. It's not particularly hot or cold. There are warm seasons and cooler seasons, but the volcanoes keep it relatively the same, or maintain the temperature and the atmosphere. So they talked about that in the beginning. Now they're on Earth, the third planet from the sun, where it's fucking hot and bright, and then it's dark and cold at night. And they're like, we've been here for how many thousands of years by now, and they're just like, this sucks. Like, we don't want to do this anymore. And so now they're talking about doing a rotating new workers in, letting the old ones go home, doing this rotation so they don't wear out. In the meantime, they have to figure out who can do the work that is better suited to this climate, because Anunnaki are not.
Right.
So that's the conundrum we are now faced with. Dun, dun, dun.
That makes sense. All right, we're just got a couple more minutes left. Maybe not even a couple. Yeah, basically 2 minutes left. Almost done.
To create new tools for the Anunnaki to avoid the tunnels. Enki said, "Call my son Ningishzida, also known as Thoth. I must speak with him." And after they had talked, Enki announced, "There is a possible solution. Let's create a primitive worker. Lulu will be its name. And may this new being carry the hard work of the Anunnaki on its shoulders." Anunnaki royals were speechless. Who had thought of a similar solution? Would anyone have thought?
Okay, Nicole, you just got banned. I told you not to do this. You continue to do this. You don't have to be here. You could go watch any number of other content on the internet. We were having a nice night. Goodbye. Get the fuck out. Don't come back.
And so they called to Ninharsag.
Sorry, not everything is communism.
Genetics,
yeah, not everything
and
is about
aid.
you.
Ninharsag answered, "I never heard of anything like it. All beings descend from a seed, each being developed throughout eternity from another as hybrids of another species. None came from nothing." Enki smiled and said, "How right you are, my sister." Then Enki said, "I must reveal a secret of the Abzu. The being we need already exists. All we need to do is brand it with our essence, with the essence of Nibiru. Let me create the Lulu, the primitive worker, and we will create it in our liking and image," Enki said. End of Tablet 5.
All right. Yo, that was a lot, Jennifer. We made it.
Yeah, the history of the Anunnaki. I was thinking, we could start with the second video where they get into like creating man, but I thought if we're gonna Anunnaki the shit, we need to do the Anunnaki shit.
I agree. Like I didn't know any of that. I never heard any of that. Like my knowledge about the Anunnaki starts when like they create human beings to mine gold.
Yeah,
so that was interesting.
Yeah, so now you see, like, this is, people go, why do they do that? Blah, blah, blah. Well, this is why. Some of the lineage stuff, I felt like we could have done without. But, I mean, again, deep dives are deep dives. You're going to get stuff that isn't going to stick. But then you learn about the politics that they had. And what's interesting is when, as we were kind of discussing earlier, when you learned about how they looked at politics and marriage and relations and lineage, you see that reflected in our own culture. So if they did indeed create us and we are a product of them and they taught us how to do, now we see kind of where we got those ideas, why we do that, why we mirrored the lives of the gods, because that's how, and the gods in every culture all fucked each other. So, I mean,
they were not shy.
No. Everybody's sisters and brothers and uncle, daddy, nephew, son.
Well, I'm looking forward to continuing next week. And next week we have an even longer movie to watch. That was an hour and 40 minutes of that movie.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll weed out some of the naysayers and haters this time, and they won't bother us next week. So
we didn't get too many, but I do like to give a good telling off, as you know.
I've never gotten to see a banning. I was like, woo!
You never got to see a banning in real life?
Well, not on the show. I've seen it like obviously when I was just like a participant, but I haven't like been on the show when it happens. So now
was it exciting for you? Was it good?
It's everything I ever. Was
I a sufficient bitch for your pleasure?
Yes. You actually, I think we're very mild compared to some of the.
I feel like I have gotten toned down lately. I give people multiple warnings. I try to reason with people. I try to be nice, but then they break the rules like that third time, and I'm like, fuck you.
Well, they don't need to be insulting. It's not necessary. We're not here. This is obviously, if you're going into something that says Anunnaki, the origins of man, ? It's not going to be talking about socialism.
Well, and it's like she left and came back 2 hours later, and it's like, lady, you know what the video's about. You can go, like, there are literally like millions of hours of content being updated to the internet like right now. Go watch something else. Like, I just don't like. Come on, man. Like, exercise some, you know what the opposite of socialism is, Jennifer? It is exercising personal responsibility. Yep. To not click on the thumbnail of the thing that you don't want to watch.
Yep. Personal responsibility, individualism. And but I thought it was funny that she decided to come back for more, which was hilarious. But I did appreciate how you were like, you know what? No. And I appreciate that. This was just a bit of fun. It's a romp. Enjoy.
We do this once a week. We didn't even do it last week because it's not like we're asking for one night here, people.
Yeah.
Where we can talk about aliens and like mysteries and crystals and fucking astrology. Like, all I want is one fucking night.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, and she did the thing where she was like, I've been a supporter for a year. I'm like, she did the thing.
No, you haven't. No, she's never been in my chat before. Come on. I would absolutely recognize someone that's doing all caps in my chat that's not bot.
Yeah, bot's like gets the excuse. We used to fight with her about it, but now it's like, fine, whatever. Bot beat us down.
Well, bot can do whatever she wants. Bot can basically get away with murder at this point. I don't even know how I allowed this to happen, but I did. All right. Well, next week we're going to be continuing with part 2. Now, Jennifer, do you have any amazing Thanksgiving plans? Are you cooking? What's going on? I
am cooking. I usually host Thanksgiving. My mom does Christmas, so I'll be doing the turkey. It's thawed now. I'm getting ready to do my big marinade. I do a huge orange juice and lemon juice and chilies and all kinds of yummy things to brine it for 24 hours. So I'll be putting that together. And I'm going to try some cream spinach this year. I haven't made it before, but I do love it. So I know that sounds icky to some people, but I like it. So I'm going to try that. Got my parents coming over and a friend of ours. And I'm like, Verda, what are you doing?
I'm just doing a basic Thanksgiving. It's just me and Victor. We don't go anywhere or anything. And I'm just doing like really basics this year. I'm doing a turkey and stuffing and turkey gravy, and I bought some like mashed potatoes from Whole Foods, so they'll be like, so I don't have to do those. So I've never done those before, so I'm like, I'll let someone else make it. We just put gravy on it; it'll be fine. But I did get some shrimp at Whole Foods as well,
Ooh.
and I don't mind saying, Jennifer, that Thanksgiving shrimp might not last until Thanksgiving. Like Thanksgiving shrimp might get consumed over the next 2 days.
Might happen. It might happen sooner than later.
Earlier. It's really good shrimp though. It's like very big. So
big shrimps, like the big tiger
shrimps.
Ones?
Yeah, like big
Ooh.
ones. I was like,
yummy. Do you make your own dippy sauce, or do you buy?
For the Whole Foods made some cocktail sauce with it. It's got a lot of horseradish in it. I'll tell you what. But I didn't mind that so much. But
nice.
But I'm gonna be brining my turkey in my usual brine, which is basically molasses, soy sauce, and honey.
Yeah.
And of course, like a metric ton of salt.
Yeah.
And like it makes the turkey get like really, really dark when it comes out, but it's so good.
I'll bet.
So good. It's so
the
good.
first time my husband, we got a smoker several years ago, and he, speaking of dark turkeys, smoked it the first time, and it came out like a meteor because it was like black and charred, but the inside was so big. It was like the most delicious freaking turkey ever.
People were like commenting on my turkey last year on Twitter. They're like, Colin, you burnt your turkey. I'm like, no. I soaked it in molasses and soy sauce and honey overnight. That's what you're seeing. And it's glorious, awesome. And it's good, and it's salty, and it's beautiful, and it's moist.
Yay.
Anyway,
turkey.
Happy Thanksgiving, Jennifer. I am grateful for you and doing this show and being a valued member of my community and excising me from possession when I need it, and always being a wonderful supporter of my work. And I appreciate you very much, Jennifer. Thank you for being here and with us.
Oh, thank you, honey. I appreciate you too. I appreciate you've been very inspirational for me throughout my life, as you know, and I'm very grateful to you and to this community. And I feel like I've made some amazing, hopefully lifelong friendships with this community, and it's been a real honor and privilege. So I'm grateful for you guys too.
Cool. Well, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I will be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. for more socialism, but we will be back next week with part 2 of Anunnaki.
Next Tuesday, and we've got movie night Friday night, which is Vintage Vault with Allison, and then I'm doing Monty Python and the Holy Grail on Sunday.
Oh, I'd forgotten about that. I'd blocked that out like a bad memory. I really had.
I'm sorry.
Like,
you don't like
what movie is Allison watching, Jennifer?
I could look at the list, but I don't have permission to announce, but I could look at our list. We each have our own, like, I made a spreadsheet. We each have our own page so that we can make sure that we're not all doing the same movies and stuff. So I'm not sure what she's doing. And I know Mac is doing a movie on Monday. I don't know if he's still with us. I don't remember what he's doing. But I have had so many requests for the Holy Grail, and it is just time. It's time to do it. Put this horse out of its misery. You'll never have to watch it again.
It's fine.
You've never seen it. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't, because I hate Monty Python. I hate it. I hate it with the fury of 1,000 suns. And I'm going to watch it anyway. I'm going to watch it anyway, even though I don't want to. And then you know what's going to happen, Jennifer? I'm taking this one. I'm putting it in my back pocket. And you're never going to fucking hear the end of it.
Okay, so it's like you're for Monty Python. For me, it was Killer Clowns of Outer Space,
which is an amazing movie.
Oh my god, it doesn't hold a candle to Monty Python, but okay,
whatever. Mac B says he's doing Breakfast and Tiffany's on Monday. That's a great movie.
Good movie. Yep.
God, Mac B has the best movie night picks.
He's got some good ones. Yeah, they're well, because I'm doing more mainstream stuff. So Allison and him are doing kind of more of your historical, cultural relevant, and also some just really fun, interesting things that maybe you haven't heard of, but they love. And it's like, oh, I'm glad I got exposed to these. They're great.
I was bummed to miss The Graduate, which was Allison's first movie, because
she didn't do it.
She didn't do it?
No,
I thought she did The Graduate. What did she do?
No, she did Wednesday something. It was a surfing movie.
Oh, I'm glad I didn't miss The Graduate then, because I definitely want to go to The Graduate.
Yeah,
I love that movie.
That was, let's see, and then what else? Then she did her first movie night actually on her own. Hold on, I can tell you, I'm not gonna give any secrets away, but Chinatown. That's what she did.
I knew about that one. Yep.
Yeah, she did Chinatown. And so this is what it like is really great about the communication between the three of us is if someone really wants to do a movie, then we can say, hey, can I call dibs on that? And the other two can go, oh yeah, sure. It's not as important to us as it is to you. You go right ahead. So that's kind of what we're doing with it. And I kind of called dibs on The Graduate. So because I wanted to do it.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll look forward to you eventually doing the graduate when you get around to it, Jennifer.
I have it on the schedule for next year.
Okay.
It's almost December. Can you believe that?
No, I really can't. Like, I wanted to get so much more done this year than I've gotten done, and I feel really like I'm feeling guilty with how little I've gotten done. But at the same time, I'm like, what happened?
Yeah, it was January, and then it was June, and now it's friggin' Thanksgiving. And and like we lost 2 dogs. You know, we had put Kina went bye-bye, and then 5 days later we lost Asha because of her illness. And it's been I'm like, you know what? I haven't written, I haven't done anything. I'm like, I'm just letting this year just be a year to end on whatever note.
I feel like we've entered the quiet period of the year, though, which happens, at least for me, like at the end of the year, like every year, where like all of a sudden, like I'm just like working one day and everything's quiet. And like there isn't even that much going on online. And I'm like, I feel like it happens around Thanksgiving, and then it kind of cruises into Christmas. Where things just get quieter, and then you can do stuff that maybe you hadn't done before. Or maybe you pick up a project that you hadn't, thought about in a while or something like that, because it's quiet.
So that's interesting, because my birthday comes up in January. So for me, this is when I start getting like antsy. Because I'm coming into my life cycle time. So I get a little agitated, like I should be productive, but I don't know what to do. And I get, I don't know, agitated. I like that you're having a quiet time. Good. Give me some of that.
No, I'm keeping it all for myself. I've earned this, Jennifer. It's been a tough year. It's been a tough year. I've gone to war with James Lindsay. I'm hanging around with Nick Fuentes and the Groypers. I red pilled on the JQ. Strange. Like I got possessed by a demon at a conference the last time I went undercover. Like I've been thinking about going undercover again. I've actually been thinking about this. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like I don't know.
Keep my number handy. I don't feel so good. Okay, let me get some.
I really do think that messed with me though, because it was like after I was like, nope, we're not doing this again. No.
I'll come with you, honey. I'll be your demon protectress.
Okay. Well, we'll have to find a good event to go undercover at where multiple of us can go and stuff like that. Anyway, let's wrap up the stream. We've been going for 3 hours. Jennifer, I appreciate you. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for hanging out with us. We'll be back next week for more Anunnaki. And I don't think we need to do the outro tonight. We're just going to end it. Take care, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you soon. Bye.